After hearing Lu Chen's words, Wang Qingkai was stunned, and the jade hand holding the perfume bottle also stopped in midair. Didn't she come to the Bawang mansion just to get close to the Bawang? Unexpectedly, the Bawang actually took the initiative to ask to talk to her alone. This is a once-in-a-lifetime opportunity. If she can hook the Bawang's heart, then she won't be able to find out the whereabouts of the mysterious master in the Bawang mansion. Not only that, if she can hook the Bawang's heart, after the people from the Blood Moon Tower come, she can also find a way to lead the Bawang out, and then they can complete the task more easily. And maybe they can complete the task without waiting for the people from the Blood Moon Tower to arrive. Thinking of this, Wang Qingkai immediately said to Lu Chen, "Of course, it's my honor." Lu Chen smiled and said, "In that case, let's go to another place to talk." At this point, Lu Chen looked at Mu Zixuan and said, "My beloved, I plan to talk to Miss Wang alone. As for these trial perfumes, you can have someone send them directly to Beiwa Tower." Mu Zixuan knew that Lu Chen was going to take down Wang Qingkai, so she immediately said, "Okay, Your Majesty, I will have someone send these perfumes to Beiwa Tower later." At this time, Lu Chen got up from the bench in the pavilion and turned to walk out of the yard. "Miss Wang, please follow me, I will take you to a quiet place." Hearing this, Wang Qingkai sneered in his heart. What a lustful guy. Although they were alone, Wang Qingkai was not worried at all about what Lu Chen would do to him. In her opinion, Lu Chen was a useless prince. In addition to his good appearance, he had no strength. How could she, a 9th grade warrior, be afraid of a useless prince? If Lu Chen wanted to do something to her later, she could find all kinds of excuses to avoid it. She had done this to the men she wanted to assassinate in the past. If Lu Chen insisted on using force, she could also use her charm to seduce Lu Chen and make him fall into a sweet dream. Wang Qingkai had 100 ways to deal with an ordinary person, which came from his confidence in his own strength. While thinking about how to deal with Lu Chen later, Wang Qingkai followed Lu Chen to the main courtyard. When Lu Chen and Wang Qingkai entered the room, Mu Zixuan immediately asked someone to invite Chu Yukin. Chu Yukin was a little confused. What did Mu Zixuan want to do with her? Although Mu Zixuan believed what Lu Chen said, she was still worried that something might go wrong. After all, Lu Chen and Wang Qingkai were alone together, and Wang Qingkai was a 9th grade warrior. Seeing Mu Zixuan standing at the door of the main courtyard, Chu Yukin walked over and asked, "Zixuan, what do you want to do with me?" After this period of time, Chu Yukin and Mu Zixuan were already very familiar with each other. Chu Yukin basically stopped calling Mu Zixuan the princess and called her by her name. Mu Zixuan said at this time, "Aunt Chu, the prince brought Miss Wang into the room. I was afraid something might happen, so I asked you to come and watch." Hearing this, Chu Yukin looked at Mu Zixuan with a puzzled look. "Zixuan, is the Miss Wang you are talking about the one you called to the palace?" Mu Zixuan replied, "Yes." Chu Yukin was a little confused. She thought that Mu Zixuan had called the courtesan from Beihualu to serve Lu Chen. But now Mu Zixuan asked her to come here and watch. What does this mean? Is Mu Zixuan jealous? Want her to judge? Chu Yukin then continued to ask, "Are you going to let me talk to Chener? Tell him not to get in touch with prostitutes." Hearing Chu Yukin's words, Mu Zixuan immediately realized that Chu Yukin had misunderstood, so she immediately explained, "Aunt Chu, you misunderstood. What I meant is that it is inevitable that it is unsafe for the prince to be alone with others. If something happens later, you should take action immediately." Chu Yukin then realized that Mu Zixuan was worried that the courtesan of Beiwa Tower would harm Lu Chen. But then again, Mu Zixuan was right to be so careful. She had previously felt that there was something wrong with the courtesan of Beiwa Tower. The woman walked very lightly, much like those masters who were very good at light skills. It was indeed dangerous to let Lu Chen be alone with a warrior who was suspected to have internal strength. Chu Yukin said, "I understand. If there is anything unusual in the room, I will go in immediately." At the same time, in the room, Lu Chen sat at the table and brewed a pot of dragon and phoenix tea, then said to Wang Qingkai with a smile, "Miss Wang, please sit down." "Thank you, Your Highness." Then Wang Qingkai sat down slowly. At this time, her buttocks were a little sunken by the stool, and it could be seen that her body was very soft. Wang Qingkai asked with a hint of coquettishness at this time, "Your Majesty, what do you want to know about Beijun?" "I will tell you everything I know." Lu Chen did not make any moves right away. He asked seriously, "Miss Wang, Do you know any beautiful girls in Beijing? Especially the beauty who is so beautiful that she can overwhelm the whole country and shame the moon and flowers. Hearing Lu Chen's question, Wang Qingkai couldn't help but despise Lu Chen in his heart. He was indeed a lustful man. He just came to Beijing and asked about the beauties in Beijing. It's not surprising to think about it. This guy just took 2 concubines not long ago. I guess he wants to take concubines again now. Then Wang Qingkai replied, Your Majesty, Beijing is different from the capital. It may not be so easy to find a woman who is so beautiful that she can overwhelm the whole country. However, I heard that there is a very beautiful woman on the grassland. Hearing this, Lu Chen immediately became interested. Oh? Miss Wang, are you talking about the barbarians on the grassland? How can there be beautiful women in the barbarians? Wang Qingkai said, Your Highness, although most women on the grassland are relatively strong and do not conform to the aesthetics of the men of the great Xia dynasty, there are still many beautiful women with good figures in the barbarian royal court. The beautiful woman I am talking about is in the barbarian royal court. Lu Chen thought about it. The women in the barbarian royal court were not something he could approach now, so he still wanted to be practical. Miss Wang, please tell me about the women I can currently approach. The barbarian royal court is not a place I can go to now. Wang Qingkai smiled and said coquettishly, Your Highness, isn't the beautiful woman you can currently approach right in front of you? Hearing this, Lu Chen's mouth corners rose slightly. Wang Qingkai couldn't hold back and wanted to start seducing himself. In this case, he would not be polite. Today his little Yuryu can have a day off. Lu Chen then put a hand on Wang Qingkai's jade leg, and said with a smile, Miss Wang is right. I didn't look at the person in front of me, but actually thought about going outside to find a beautiful woman. It was my fault. At this time, the fragrance of Wang Qingkai's body was madly impacting Lu Chen's nostrils, and Lu Chen's body immediately became restless. His current realm is not enough, and it is not so easy to control his desires. Of course, Lu Chen did not plan to control it today. Seeing Lu Chen start to make moves, Wang Qingkai knew that the conditions were ripe, and now she could use her charm to deal with Lu Chen. Those who are seduced by the charm will let her do whatever she wants, and she can ask later where the mysterious master of the palace has gone. Then, Wang Qingkai looked at Lu Chen, and said with autumn water in his eyes, Prince, you are annoying, how can you touch me right away? Having said that, Wang Qingkai stared into Lu Chen's eyes, and then prepared to use her charm. However, the next second, Wang Qingkai was dumbfounded. The power in her body disappeared completely, and now she was no different from an ordinary woman. Wang Qingkai was stunned. How could this happen? In order for a warrior to lose his power, he must be given some kind of drug that disperses his power. But since she entered the palace, she hasn't eaten anything? She didn't even drink the tea that King Bei made after she entered the room just now. Seeing Wang Qingkai's face change drastically, Lu Chen knew that she should have realized the seriousness of the problem. But unfortunately, it was all too late. Lu Chen then hugged Wang Qingkai's soft body. Miss Wang, you are so beautiful, I want you to be my woman. Hearing this, Wang Qingkai panicked instantly. She quickly said, Prince, we have only known each other for a short time, isn't it too fast? Why don't we get to know each other for a while longer? Wang Qingkai found that not only had she lost all her power, she didn't even have any strength in her body. She couldn't muster any strength to push Lu Chen away, as if she had really been drugged. As a warrior, how could Wang Qingkai not understand her current situation? If Lu Chen wanted to do something to her now, she would have no ability to resist at all. Seeing that Wang Qingkai was panicking, Lu Chen lifted her chin with his hand, looked into her beautiful eyes and said, Miss Wang, the first time is unfamiliar, the second time is familiar. Since we want to get to know each other, it is better to get to know each other in depth. At this point, Lu Chen kissed Wang Qingkai's red lips. Wang Qingkai wanted to struggle and push Lu Chen away, but it was useless. She could only make a whimpering sound. After a while, Lu Chen directly hugged this charming and beautiful woman to his bed and began to cultivate feelings. Ding! Congratulations to the host for having a woman again and obtaining the Wandu Bue Dan. The host and Wang Qingkai have developed a relationship and gained 20 experience points for the Qi refining technique and 10 experience points for the rejuvenation hand. Although the system prompt sounded in his ears, Lu Chen had no intention to pay attention to it. He was completely crazy now. He understood why Wang Qingkai had a score of 95. Although they were all above 90 points, this woman was the best of the best, making him unable to control himself. At this time, at the gate of the main courtyard, Music Xuan was waiting anxiously, but at this time, they seemed to hear a voice coming from the room. Hearing this voice, Music Xuan was relieved. It seemed that the prince had succeeded. Next, the palace has another 9th grade master. Chu Yukin's face was a little ruddy at this time. The princess took herself to eavesdrop on the wall, which gave her a strange feeling in her heart. Recently, she always thought of Lu Chen's handsome face in the dead of night, accompanied by endless emptiness and loneliness. Chu Yukin kept reminding herself in her heart that Lu Chen was her sister's son, and she couldn't have that kind of feeling for him, but during the day, her eyes couldn't help but peek at Lu Chen. Every time she heard the mixed voices of Lu Chen and other women, she couldn't suppress her inner restlessness, but Lu Chen, this bad guy, liked to mess around in the inner courtyard. If she continued like this, I'm afraid she would really do something out of line. At this time, Chu Yukin hurriedly practiced her skills to stabilize her mind and not let herself think too much. While practicing her skills, Chu Yukin reminded herself in her heart. Chen is sister Yu's son, I absolutely can't have any improper thoughts. At this time, Music Xuan, who was standing aside, saw Chu Yukin close her eyes and her face flushed, and she couldn't help but cover her mouth and laugh. After all, she is a woman, and a woman who has never had sex with men and women. It would be abnormal if she was not touched by those voices. However, this also shows that Chu Yukin has feelings for the prince in her heart, but because of the identity issues between them, she has been suppressing her inner love for men and women. At this time, Music Xuan suddenly thought of something. It seems that Chu Yukin has been drinking dragon and phoenix tea recently. Others don't know the effect of dragon and phoenix tea, so they don't know what it means to drink dragon and phoenix tea, but she knows it because Lu Chen told her. Music Xuan thought to herself, is the prince really going to turn Chu Yukin into his woman? He is now able to subdue Wang Qingkai, a 9th grade warrior, relying on dragon and phoenix tea, and Chu Yukin is also drinking dragon and phoenix tea, which means that if Lu Chen insists on making Chu Yukin his woman in the near future, Chu Yukin will not be able to resist. Thinking of this, Music Xuan looked at Chu Yukin meaningfully. It seems that Chu Yukin will never be able to escape the clutches of their prince in this life. The time of pain is very long, and the time of happiness is very short. However, the length and shortness of time are relative. For example, Lu Chen feels that time is very short, while Wang Qingkai feels that time is very long. Wang Qingkai tried all possible ways to escape, but was eventually pulled back by Lu Chen. She felt extremely humiliated. She was a 9th rank warrior, but today she fell into the hands of an ordinary person, and she didn't even know how she got caught. After an unknown number of hours, Lu Chen hugged Wang Qingkai's waist tightly, and smiled in her ear and said, Qingkai, I didn't expect that you, a courtesan of Beihua Tower, are actually Yunying. It seems that my luck is pretty good. At this time, Lu Chen's words were like the whisper of a devil. Wang Qingkai gritted her teeth and wanted to curse him, but she held back in the end. She had to find a way to leave the palace, to leave this place where she suffered humiliation. After her power recovered, she would come back to kill the man who took away her innocence. Wang Qingkai then said in a delicate voice, Prince, please let me go, I can't do it anymore. Hearing Wang Qingkai's voice, Lu Chen became more agitated. Lu Chen said, Qingkai, why don't you live in the palace from now on? I want to buy you and let you serve me all the time. Hearing this, Wang Qingkai's face suddenly turned pale. She said quickly, Your Highness, I still have a lot of stuff in Beihua Tower. If you really want to buy me, then let me go back to Beihua Tower and bring my stuff to the palace. Lu Chen stroked Wang Qingkai's jade back and said, Those things are dispensable. Just buy new ones. Anyway, our palace is not short of money. Wang Qingkai quickly found a new excuse and said, Your Highness, I grew up in Beihua Tower since I was a child. I have a very deep relationship with the sisters in Beihua Tower. I can't bear to leave them. If Your Highness really likes me, can you give me some time to say goodbye to them? Now she can only play the emotional card and let Lu Chen let her go. Lu Chen said, Okay, I'll give you a month, what do you think? Wang Qingkai thought to herself, a month? It just so happened that the people from the Blood Moon Tower would come soon. This guy would die in a month. At that time, she would personally deal with this guy to vent her hatred. Although she thought so in her heart, Wang Qingkai still said charmingly, Thank you for your help, Your Highness. I will serve you well in the future. Seeing Wang Qingkai's fair body, Lu Chen couldn't help but cultivate feelings with Wang Qingkai again. After an unknown amount of time, Lu Chen let Wang Qingkai leave. When Wang Qingkai walked out of the gate of the palace, his body was still shaking. He was so weak that he needed the help of the maids in the palace to walk. Wang Qingkai turned his head and glanced at the plaque of the palace. The expression on his face instantly became extremely cold, and a strong murderous intent flashed in his eyes. King Bei, you wait for me, it will be your death soon. After saying this in his heart, Wang Qingkai turned around and returned to Beihua Tower. After Wang Qingkai left, Lu Chen came out of the room and saw Chu Yukin and Mu Zixuan. Mu Zixuan said at this time, "Congratulations, Your Highness, for capturing the heart of the beauty." Lu Chen came to Mu Zixuan, hugged her body, and then said gently, "All this is thanks to your arrangement, my beloved concubine." At this time, Chu Yukin reminded her, "Chen, I find that you have become more and more absurd recently. You actually brought the courtesan home. If people know about this, what will the people of Beijun think of you? You are their king." Hearing Chu Yukin's reprimand, Lu Chen sighed and said, "Aunt Chu, I actually have my reasons." Hearing this, Chu Yukin was stunned for a moment, and then asked, "What are your reasons?" Although Chu Yukin thought that Lu Chen was making excuses for his lust, Chu Yukin was different from ordinary people. She usually listened to Lu Chen's explanation. Lu Chen then said to Mu Zixuan, "My beloved concubine, tell Aunt Chu what my reasons are." Mu Zixuan was stunned for a moment. How could she know what Lu Chen's reasons were? Didn't her husband just purely like beauty? However, Mu Zixuan reacted quickly and said to Chu Yukin, "Aunt Chu, I will tell you about the prince's affairs later. He does have his own difficulties." Hearing this, Chu Yukin looked at Mu Zixuan with suspicion. She now seriously suspected that Lu Chen and Mu Zixuan were playing a double game. After all, the husband sings and the wife follows, but she had no evidence. Then Chu Yukin said nothing more, "I'm going on patrol, you guys can chat." Watching Chu Yukin's back as she left, Mu Zixuan couldn't help but cover her mouth and laugh again. Lu Chen asked in confusion, "My beloved, what are you laughing at?" Mu Zixuan replied, "Your Majesty, you didn't see Aunt Chu's expression just now. When she was at the gate of the courtyard, her face was red and she looked very tormented." Lu Chen thought that this should be the effect of the dragon and phoenix tea. Mu Zixuan asked at this time, "Your Majesty, has Miss Wang really completely surrendered to you?" Lu Chen thought for a while. When Wang Qingkai left just now, he glanced at Wang Qingkai's favor ability. Wang Qingkai's favor ability did not decrease because of his hard coming. On the contrary, under the influence of the dragon and phoenix tea, her favor ability increased by 10 to 70. However, it is still early to say that she has completely surrendered. Lu Chen then said, "Not yet, but if she comes to the palace a few more times, I believe she will soon be unwilling to leave the palace." Mu Zixuan said, "Then I wish your Majesty to subdue Miss Wang as soon as possible." Lu Chen smiled slightly and said nothing more. After Wang Qingkai returned to Beihua Tower, she immediately recalled carefully what she had done after entering the palace. She was a 9th grade master after all, but she was drugged without anyone noticing. Fortunately, the King of the North did not know her identity, but was just greedy for her beauty. If the King of the North wanted to kill her today, she would probably be dead. She would never allow this to happen again. After Wang Qingkai pondered for a while, she still couldn't think of the place where she might have been drugged. At this time, Wang Qingkai suddenly thought of something, and she immediately took out a perfume bottle from the wooden box on the table. The time when she might be drugged was the perfume in the palace. Wang Qingkai then opened a perfume bottle and smelled it, but this perfume did not make her lose her power. Then, Wang Qingkai opened all the perfume bottles again, smelled all the perfumes, but her power was still there. She suddenly remembered that she had recovered her power immediately after leaving the King of the North. Could it be that the problem was with the King of the North? But the King of the North is just an ordinary person, how could he have such a mysterious method? The more Wang Qingkai thought about it, the more confused she became. She was very upset now. She had only wanted to seduce the King of the North, and then use her charm to seduce him and control him. But not only did she fail to seduce him, but she also got herself involved. That guy had tortured her for so long that she even doubted whether she would be pregnant with his child. When she thought of this, Wang Qingkai was furious. Damn it! The king of the north is such a lecher, I will castrate him with my own hands sooner or later. At the same time, the king of the north's mansion. Lu Chen did not go to find Zhou Yuyu today. Zhou Yuyu had a rare day off. After Chu Yukin went to the inner courtyard for a walk, she returned to the main courtyard. At this time, Lu Chen was no longer in the main courtyard, and only Mu Zixuan was still in the pavilion. Chu Yukin immediately came to Mu Zixuan. Zixuan, Chen said before that he was lecherous for a reason. Can you tell me what my reason is? This. Mu Zixuan was slightly stunned. Anyone with a discerning eye could tell that Lu Chen was just making up an excuse, but Chu Yukin didn't expect that he actually believed that he had a reason. What reason could he have? He was just lustful. Of course, as Lu Chen's princess, Mu Zixuan would definitely not say that about her husband. Mu Zixuan thought for a moment, and then replied, "And Chu, haven't you noticed that the prince has changed a lot recently? Although he still likes sex, he is very different from the rumored unlearned northern king." After hearing what Mu Zixuan said, Chu Yukin thought about it and realized that it was indeed the case. Not to mention that Lu Chen had 2 mysterious weapons in a tree that could improve his skills, he had also changed a lot from his personal character alone. In the past, he didn't care about the affairs of the mansion at all, and everything was arranged for him by his aunt. But Lu Chen recently took out soap and perfume, thinking of increasing the income of the mansion. And he seemed to have asked Li Feng to actively train the army. Of course, the biggest change is that he has internal force fluctuations. He is now a warrior. Although she doesn't know where his power comes from, he is indeed a warrior. But then again, what does this have to do with his lustful difficulties? Chu Yukin continued to ask. Chen has indeed changed a lot recently, but what does this have to do with his difficulties? Mu Zixuan's brain turned rapidly, and then she sighed and said, "And Chu, in my opinion, the prince is not unlearned, nor does he really like beauty. All he did was to defile himself and save his life. Think about it, if he is a prince who is both civil and martial, can he walk out of the capital alive?" Hearing Mu Zixuan's words, Chu Yukin's brain was stunned, and she instantly connected the things that happened in the past. She used to think that Lu Chen was spoiled by her and that Lu Chen would continue to enjoy himself in the future, but she never thought that this might be Lu Chen pretending. Now think about it, if Lu Chen didn't pretend to be unlearned, maybe many forces would have taken action against him when he was still in the capital. The assassination in the Blood Moon Tower is a typical example. He has been regarded as a useless prince who is unlearned and has even been driven to the bitter cold land in the north by the emperor, but there are still people who will not let him go. If he behaves a little smarter, wouldn't he be a greater threat in the eyes of others, and wouldn't those princes want to kill him even more? Chu Yukin felt extremely guilty when she thought that she had misunderstood Lu Chen. It turned out that it was not that Lu Chen had not grown up from the beginning to the end, but that she had never understood Lu Chen. Lu Chen must have been under a lot of pressure to pretend to be unlearned. As an aunt, she is really incompetent. She said in front of her sister that she would take good care of Chen for the rest of her life, but she didn't know so many pains in Chen's heart, and she thought he was ignorant and a lecher. Mu Zixuan had only been married to Lu Chen for a few months when she knew what was buried in Lu Chen's heart, but she had been with Lu Chen for more than 10 years, but she didn't know his difficulties. Chu Yukin said to Mu Zixuan in a depressed mood, "Zixuan, you are right. I am an incompetent aunt. I don't know the pressure he is under. You are the closest person to him now. I hope you can help me take good care of him and share more of his burden." Mu Zixuan smiled and said, "Aunt Chu, don't say such things. In the eyes of the prince, you are the closest person to him." Chu Yukin sighed and said, "How can I be his closest person? I don't even know what he is thinking." Mu Zixuan hurriedly said, "Aunt Chu, please don't think so. In the eyes of the prince, no woman is more important than you." Chu Yukin showed a bitter smile on her face and did not continue the topic. Half a month has passed in a flash. Today is the opening day of the perfume shop of the Northern King's mansion. After the promotion of the girls in Beihualu in the past half month, the whole Yanshan now knows that the perfumes made by the palace are very good. In the morning, as soon as the perfume shop opened, the ladies and wives of the nobles in Beijun rushed in. In less than half an hour, all the perfumes made by the palace in the past half month were sold out. Lu Chen did not go to the perfume shop, he was studying the map of this world at home. Since he has decided to fight for that position, he can't lie down and read nothing like before. At this time, Mu Zixuan and Zhou Xiaoxiao came back. Seeing that they came back so quickly, Lu Chen put down the map in his hand and asked, "My beloved concubine, how are the sales of perfumes?" Mu Zixuan did not answer directly, but said, "Your Majesty, I think the price of perfumes is still too low." Hearing this, Lu Chen was stunned for a moment, and then he asked, "Why do you think so?" Mu Zixuan replied, "Our palace has only produced less than 2,000 bottles of perfume in half a month, but they were all sold out in less than half an hour." Lu Chen said in surprise, "So fast?" Lu Chen is not a fool. The price of perfumes was 1 or 2 silvers per bottle, which was actually based on the economic situation of Beijun. After all, Beijun is so poor, and there are not so many rich families who can afford perfumes. As a result, Mu Zixuan told him that all the perfumes were sold out in less than half an hour. At this time, Zhou Xiaoxiao said on the side, "Your Majesty, there are many outsiders who come to buy perfume, especially the caravans from other places. They are very interested in perfume and buy dozens of bottles." Lu Chen instantly understood the reason. It seems that the perfume in the palace was targeted by those merchants, so it was sold so quickly. Those merchants probably bought perfume not for their own use, but to take it to other places to sell, such as the wealthy places like the capital. Lu Chen pondered for a moment and felt that his vision should not be so narrow. In the future, he will need a lot of silver to support the army, and his economic and trade activities must not be limited to Beijun. The people of Beijun have little money in their pockets, and it is basically unrealistic to squeeze oil and water from them to support the army. Thinking of this, Lu Chen looked at Mu Zixuan and the other 2 girls, and then asked, "My beloved, if you were in the capital now, and you were still a young lady of the Mu family, and you were not married, if you heard someone in the capital say that this kind of perfume was sold, how much silver would you be willing to spend on a bottle of perfume?" Mu Zixuan thought for a moment, and then replied, "Your Majesty, if it were me, I would be willing to spend at most 20 taels of silver to buy a bottle of perfume." Mu Zixuan's identity represented the young ladies and wives of the wealthy families in the capital. If Mu Zixuan was willing to spend 20 taels of silver to buy a bottle of perfume, then other young ladies and wives would be about the same. Then Lu Chen said, "I decided to open another perfume shop in the capital and Sufeng city respectively, and the price of perfume will be set at 20 taels of silver in the future. When the production of perfume increases, the price will be appropriately increased according to the exquisiteness of the small porcelain bottle." Lu Chen thought to himself that although he could not return to the capital, it should be no problem for his shop to sell things in the capital. After hearing what Lu Chen said, Mu Zixuan immediately said, "Your Highness, I need to tell my father about this." Lu Chen couldn't go back to the capital, and perfume would definitely be a highly profitable commodity in the future, so it was inevitable that someone would be jealous. So if he wanted to open a shop in the capital, he still needed someone in the capital to watch over it. Lu Chen naturally understood this truth, and he smiled and said, "Then I'll trouble my beloved concubine." At this time, Mu Zixuan continued, "Your Highness, if you want to open a perfume shop in Sufeng City, I'm afraid you have to tell Aunt Chu and let her tell the Chu family. Sufeng City is located in Jiangnan. It is a city where major families in Jiangnan gather, and it is also the most developed place for business in the Great Xia dynasty. Of course, that place can also be said to be the territory of Jiangnan families. If a perfume shop wants to open in Sufeng City, it also needs someone to watch over it, and it must be a family. If it is not a family, it will definitely not be able to control the situation. Without a family watching over it, the shop may be robbed in a few days." Lu Chen said, "I will talk to Aunt Chu later." At this time, Chu Yukin was patrolling the outer courtyard. She was not here, so Lu Chen was not in a hurry. Things have to be done slowly. It takes some time to open a shop. It is not something that can be opened immediately. At this time, Zhou Yuyu quietly came behind Mu Zixuan, and then gently pushed Mu Zixuan with her hand, as if to remind her of something. Mu Zixuan reacted instantly. She smiled and asked, "Your Majesty, the perfume can have its current reputation thanks to the publicity of Beihualu. Should we invite Miss Wang to come to the palace and thank her in person?" In the past half-month, Lu Chen has been in Zhou Yuyu's room almost every night, and Zhou Yuyu can't stand it again. Mu Zixuan and the other 3 girls also discovered that it seemed that Lu Chen had to cultivate feelings with them every day. Mu Zixuan and Zhou Xiaoxia would occasionally serve Lu Chen, but after all, they had children, so Lu Chen would not let them serve him too much. For him, children are more important. Zhou Yuya wanted Wang Qingkai from Beiwa Tower to share some of her pressure, but such words were definitely not something a concubine like her could say, so she asked Mu Zixuan and Lu Chen to say it. It just so happened that they could use the excuse of thanking Wang Qingkai today to invite Wang Qingkai to visit the palace. After hearing Mu Zixuan's proposal, Lu Chen said, "Well, yes, but you have to invite her in your name." Half a month had passed, and when Lu Chen thought of Wang Qingkai's soft and boneless body, his heart was a little hot. There was no way, he had not yet broken through to the 9th rank, and he could not suppress his inner desire. Mu Zixuan smiled, "I understand." Then Mu Zixuan said to the maid Xiao, "Xiao, go and invite Miss Wang to the palace, and say that I want to thank her in person." "Yes, princess." Then Xiao went to Beiwa Tower. Not long after, Wang Qingkai met Xiao. When Wang Qingkai heard that the princess wanted to thank him in person, his eyebrows were slightly frowned. She suffered a loss in the palace last time, so she is still afraid of the palace. She still hasn't figured out how she got tricked. She has been recalling the details of what happened that day for half a month, but she still can't find any clues that the other party drugged her. This time Mu Zixuan invited herself to the palace, maybe it was the pervert who instigated her again. When she thought of Lu Chen, Wang Qingkai's delicate body couldn't help but tremble. Last time, the devil didn't let her leave for several hours, and he treated her as a toy. Wang Qingkai hesitated, should she go to the palace today, or wait a few days, until the people from the Blood Moon Tower arrived? After thinking for a while, Wang Qingkai decided to go to the palace to take a look. First of all, this is the order of the palace, and it is difficult for her, a nominal courtesan, to refuse. Secondly, she was on guard this time, and she was confident that she would not be tricked again, and she was going to bring the muscle softening powder. After entering the palace, if she was alone with Lu Chen again, she would directly use the muscle softening powder to deal with him. This time, she didn't believe that she would be played with again. Under the guidance of the servants of the palace, Wang Qingkai once again came to the place where she lost her body. Looking at the plaque of the palace in front of her, the scene half a month ago kept echoing in her mind. Wang Qingkai tried to control her emotions and tried to make herself look calm. Soon, the servants of the palace took Wang Qingkai to the north courtyard. After entering the yard, Wang Qingkai only saw Lu Chen sitting in the pavilion, but did not see the princess. Seeing this scene, Wang Qingkai instantly understood that it was indeed this lecherous man who found an excuse to deceive her. What princess wanted to thank her? It was obvious that he wanted to repeat the old trick and play with her body again. Wang Qingkai sneered in her heart. This time was different from the last time. It would not be so easy for the king of the north to repeat the old trick. She then clenched the soft muscle powder in her hand, planning to use the soft muscle powder on Lu Chen while he was not paying attention, and then use the charm to seduce him. Dare to take away her innocence, she will make the king of the north pay a heavy price today. Thinking of this, Wang Qingkai walked slowly towards the pavilion, then bowed and said, "I have seen the prince." Lu Chen nodded slightly, and then said seriously, "Miss Wang, Zixuan said she has something to talk to you about, but she just went to the perfume shop and she won't be back for a while. Please sit down and wait for a while." Wang Qingkai said, "Yes, prince." Then Wang Qingkai came to the stone table, and then used Yun's hang to block the teapot on the stone table, and put the muscle softening powder into it. At this time, Lu Chen looked at Wang Qingkai, and Wang Qingkai's personal information appeared in his eyes. Name, Wang Qingkai. Identity, 9th rank warrior, adopted daughter of the Jiangnan Wang family, saint of the Misty Rain Pavilion, temporary owner of the Beiwa Tower. When she heard that the Northern Palace was looking for her, she saw through the trick of the Northern King at a glance, but she still chose to go to the Northern Palace. After arriving at the Northern Palace, she poured the muscle softening powder into the teapot, intending to drug the Northern King first, and then use the charm to seduce the Northern King, and finally take revenge on the Northern King. Rating, 9.5. Favorability, 75, under the continuous influence of Dragon and Phoenix Tea. Seeing Wang Qingkai's personal information, Lu Chen's mouth corners slightly raised. Want to use softening powder to deal with him? Then her wishful thinking will not work. Thinking of this, Lu Chen asked the system in his heart. System, can the Wanda Buewei pill resist the softening powder? Of course it can. After the host takes the Wandu Biawei pill, he already has the Wandu body, Wandu Biawei body. All the poisons in the world can be neutralized by the host's body. Hearing the system's answer, Lu Chen felt relieved. Since Wang Qingkai used the softening powder on him, he could just use the trick against him. Then Lu Chen came to the stone table and poured 2 cups of tea, one in front of Wang Qingkai and one for himself. Miss Wang, you must be thirsty. Have a cup of tea to moisten your throat. Wang Qingkai said quickly, Thank you, Your Majesty. I'm not thirsty. She had just put the muscle softener in the teapot, so she didn't dare to drink it. Even if there was no muscle softener, she still didn't dare to drink the tea in the palace. What happened last time was still vivid in her mind. She had to be extremely careful in the palace and couldn't fall into the trap again. Seeing that Wang Qingkai didn't drink, Lu Chen didn't say much. Then he picked up the teacup and drank it all. Then he sat on the stone bench next to Wang Qingkai, staring at Wang Qingkai with his eyes. Qingkai, after you went back last time, I have been thinking about you. Hearing this, Wang Qingkai's heartbeat began to speed up inexplicably. She knew that the King of the North was preparing to attack her. At this time, Wang Qingkai felt very fortunate that she had put the muscle softener in the teapot in advance, otherwise the situation like last time might happen again. Wang Qingkai then said, Thank you for your concern, Your Highness. Lu Chen continued, Qingkai, have you said goodbye to your sisters in Beihualu? I plan to buy you back sometime. Wang Qingkai pretended to be pitiful and said, Your Highness, please give me some more time. I can't bear to leave them and haven't told them about this yet. Lu Chen was about to say something, but suddenly stopped talking and raised his hand to cover his head. Oh, strange, why is my head dizzy? Hearing this, Wang Qingkai's eyes lit up, and the muscle softener took effect, and she could start her performance. Wang Qingkai quickly pretended to be panicked, and then immediately came to support Lu Chen. At this time, her dress swept across the table and swept the teapot on the table to the ground. Your Highness, what's wrong with you? Don't scare me. Your Highness, wait, I'll call someone over. At this time, there was no one in the north courtyard except the 2 of them, not even a maid. Of course, this was specially arranged by Lu Chen. Lu Chen shook his head and said, Qingkai, I'm fine. Help me to the room. I should be fine after a rest. Then Wang Qingkai helped Lu Chen to a room in the north courtyard. If there were other people at this time, they would definitely see that Lu Chen and Wang Qingkai both had a smile on their faces. Soon, Wang Qingkai helped Lu Chen into the room, and she also closed the door casually. At this time, Wang Qingkai was still completely unaware of the seriousness of the problem. She thought her plan was about to succeed. She was already thinking about how to deal with the King of the North to vent her hatred. After Lu Chen came to lie on the bed, he pretended to be weak and said, Qingkai, I'm fine, don't worry, my body has always been weak, I often have headaches, and my limbs are weak. Wang Qingkai sneered in his heart, weak. I don't know who played with her body for several hours last time, this is also called weak? Wang Qingkai didn't plan to waste time. After all, this was in the Northern Palace, and there was a Chuyukin. She had to charm the Northern Palace as soon as possible and find out from him about the mysterious master of the Northern Palace. Then, Wang Qingkai looked into Lu Chen's eyes and said, My lord, look into my eyes. After the words fell, Wang Qingkai showed a charming smile on her face, and then she was ready to use her charm. As a result, at this time, Lu Chen grabbed her jade hand, and then said with a smile, Qingkai, you are so beautiful. Wang Qingkai was stunned for a moment. She found that the power in her body dissipated again, and it disappeared instantly without a trace. How could this happen? Obviously, the Northern Palace did nothing. She was so careful, but she still fell into the trap. Wang Qingkai glanced at Lu Chen lying on the bed, and felt a little relieved. Fortunately, she had used the soft muscle powder on the Northern Palace in advance, and he couldn't do anything to her. However, just when Wang Qingkai was thinking this, Lu Chen's big hand pulled her onto the bed with force, and quickly turned over, looking down at Wang Qingkai. Wang Qingkai was stunned again. Didn't the King of the North get poisoned by her own softening powder? How could he still have the strength? And she saw the King of the North drink the softening powder with her own eyes. Wang Qingkai felt her mind go blank, and just when she was about to say something, Lu Chen possessed her. Ding. The host and Wang Qingkai cultivate feelings once, and the experience value of refining Qiju is increased by 20, and the experience value of rejuvenation hand is increased by 10. Wang Qingkai knew that she was finished. When she first developed feelings with the King of the North, she was only in pain, and she kept thinking about how to retaliate against him and how to kill him. However, only half a month later, when she developed feelings with the King of the North again, she forgot all the pain and was completely lost. A few hours later, Chu Yukin came to patrol the north courtyard. When she heard the sound coming from the room, Chu Yukin was stunned. When she was patrolling the east courtyard just now, she clearly saw Musician and the other 3 women were all there. How could there be such a sound in the north courtyard? Could it be that a man sneaked into the north courtyard and had an affair with the maid of the north courtyard? This is not okay. Then Chu Yukin came to the outside of the room where the sound came from, poked a hole in the paper on the door, and looked at the situation in the room. This look made Chu Yukin stunned. She quickly closed her eyes, blushed, and turned away, muttering as she walked, "This little bad guy brought a woman back without telling me." She thought that a man from the outer courtyard came in and had an affair with a maid from the inner courtyard, but it turned out that Lu Chen himself was doing something bad. Seeing the scene just now, Chu Yukin felt even more agitated. Chu Yukin quickly practiced the skills to stabilize her mind and kept reminding herself not to think too much. At sunset, the sun gradually set in the west, and the sky was filled with fiery red sunset glow. Musician and the 2 sisters of the Zhou family came to the north courtyard, talking and laughing. The 3 of them naturally knew what happened in the north courtyard. At this time, in a room in the north courtyard, Wang Qingkai lay in Lu Chen's arms, motionless. The fiery red glow shone into the room, and Wang Qingkai's snow-white skin was set off into bronze. At this time, Wang Qingkai had completely sobered up. She knew that she had been fooled. No, it should be said that everyone had been fooled. The entire great Xia dynasty was deceived. The King of the North, the man who took away her innocence, could never be a waste. The last time she was taken away by the King of the North, she was in extreme anger, so she never considered the possibility that the King of the North was not a waste. But now that I think about it, there are doubts everywhere. First of all, the King of the North was able to play with her for several hours, which is completely impossible for ordinary people to do. Ordinary people do not have such physical strength, not to mention that the outside world has rumored that the King of the North has long been hollowed out by alcohol and sex. And the King of the North was able to block her internal power without anyone noticing, which also proves that he is not simple. In addition, after the King of the North drank the muscle softening powder today, he was not hurt at all. Could he be an ordinary person? Could he be the useless prince that people talk about? What a joke. If someone who is still fine after drinking the muscle softening powder is a waste, then there are probably few people in the world who are not waste. As for the King of the North saying that he had a headache and was weak after drinking the muscle softening powder, it now seems that he was obviously pretending. The purpose was to let her help him into the room, so that it would be convenient for him to do things. When she thought of this, Wang Qingkai regretted it very much. She was so stupid that she actually believed that the King of the North was poisoned by the muscle softening powder. But it's useless to regret now, the thing has already happened. At this time, Wang Qingkai whispered, "Your Highness, you actually already knew my identity a long time ago." At this point, there was no need to continue pretending, it was time to come clean. Lu Chen was able to seal her power instantly, obviously knowing that she was a 9th rank warrior, and he was able to resist the influence of the soft muscle powder, which also proved that he knew what the soft muscle powder was. There was no point in pretending. Hearing Wang Qingkai's words, Lu Chen stroked Wang Qingkai's smooth jade back and said with a smile, "What identity? Qingkai, what are you talking about? I don't understand." Wang Qingkai continued, "Prince, you'd better stop pretending. Being able to seal the power in my body instantly is not something that ordinary people can do, and you can't be unaware of my identity. Tell me, how are you going to deal with me? Since I have fallen into your hands, you can kill me or cut me up." Hearing this, Lu Chen turned over, supported his hands on both sides of her head, and looked down at her. "Why should I kill you? My 8th brother is so good to me and sent me a 9th rank beauty. In the end, I killed him like this. Wouldn't it be too inhumane?" Hearing Lu Chen's words, Wang Qingkai was stunned. As expected, the King of the North had known that she was sent by the 8th prince. Wang Qingkai then chuckled and said, "Everyone says that the King of the North is a waste. Even His Majesty didn't think highly of you and sent you to Beijing. As a result, you never defended yourself and even came to Beijing without any hesitation. The king of the north is hiding so deeply, he must have a bigger plot. Now I know that you were pretending before. Are you sure you won't kill to silence people? Wang Qingkai's beautiful eyes stared at Lu Chen. She didn't think she could survive. After all, she had lost all her power in front of the king of the north, and the king of the north couldn't be an ordinary person. Maybe the mysterious master that the outside world had been rumored to be was actually the king of the north himself. Lu Chen raised his hand and stroked Wang Qingkai's charming cheek, then said lightly, "If it were anyone else, they might really kill you. But this king is different. Not only will I not kill you, I will also make you my slave, my forbidden lover, and give birth to my children and reproduce." Hearing Lu Chen's words, Wang Qingkai was stunned. But she sneered afterwards. Lu Chen asked doubtfully, "Why, is what I said ridiculous?" Wang Qingkai said, "It's ridiculous indeed. Does the prince think that I will serve you wholeheartedly? Even if you seal my power, I can commit suicide when no one is around." Lu Chen smiled and said, "Commit suicide? I'm curious about your reason for committing suicide." Wang Qingkai said, "The prince wants to lock me up in the palace as a tool for venting, and asked me why I want to commit suicide. Does the prince think I will endure such humiliation to survive?" Lu Chen said lightly, "I didn't say I would keep you in the palace. I will let you go later." Wang Qingkai's brain was stunned. What did she hear? The king of the north said that he would let her go? How is this possible? They have already revealed their cards. If they let her go, wouldn't it be like letting the tiger go back to the mountain? The king of the north has been able to pretend to be a waste for so many years, which proves that he is a very scheming man. He dares to do such a risky thing. Or is the king of the north confident that he can't leave Yanqing? Seeing Wang Qingkai's stunned expression, Lu Chen asked, "Why, do you find it strange?" Wang Qingkai came back to her senses and asked, "Aren't you afraid that after I leave the northern palace, I will spread the news that you are not a waste?" Lu Chen said lightly, "First of all, no one will believe you, and secondly, I don't think you will tell anyone about me." After 2 times of cultivating feelings, Wang Qingkai's favorability has now risen to 90, especially today's cultivation of feelings, which can be said to have directly conquered Wang Qingkai. There is no possibility of betrayal when the favorability exceeds 80, not to mention that her current favorability has reached 90. After hearing Lu Chen's words, Wang Qingkai fell silent. Indeed, even if she went out and told everyone that the king of the north was not a waste, it was unlikely that anyone would believe her. After all, the image of the king of the north as a waste had already been deeply rooted in people's minds. In addition, after the king of the north came to Beijing, he did nothing and had fun in the king of the north's mansion every day. Now there have been rumors in Beijing that the king of the north has many beautiful maids in the king of the north's mansion, and he hangs out with these maids all day, soaking in the pool of wine and the forest of meat. However, Wang Qingkai was a little puzzled. Why did the king of the north think that he would never tell anyone? He believed in himself so much. Didn't he know that after he did such an outrageous thing to him, he always wanted to take revenge on him? At this time, Lu Chen let go of Wang Qingkai's delicate body and got up from the bed. He said while putting on his clothes, "Okay, you can go back." Hearing this, Wang Qingkai looked at Lu Chen in disbelief. "Are you really going to let me go?" Lu Chen smiled slightly, and then said, "Do you think this king is the kind of person who likes to joke?" Wang Qingkai stopped talking and started to put on her clothes. After a while, Wang Qingkai walked out of the palace carefully. Standing at the gate of the palace, she still couldn't believe it. She turned her head and looked at the plaque of the palace, with mixed feelings in her heart. She just came out like this? Did the king of the north really not do anything to her? Wang Qingkai quickly sensed her own power, and her power was back at this time. If the king of the north did not intend to let her go, it would be impossible to unlock the seal on her power. After all, she was a 9th grade warrior, and it was not easy to catch a 9th grade warrior. Wang Qingkai then turned her head and quickly returned to Beihua Tower with a nervous heart. Along the way, she had been paying attention to the surrounding situation, fearing that the king of the north would attack her on the road. As a result, she returned to Beihua Tower, and still no one attacked her, not even anyone following her. After returning to Beihua Tower, Wang Qingkai stood on the attic of Beihua Tower, looking in the direction of the king of the north's mansion, and couldn't help thinking in her heart that it seemed that the king of the north was serious. I didn't expect the King of the North to have such great courage. Wang Qingkai sighed. The more generous the King of the North was, the stronger he was. The fact that the King of the North was not afraid to tell others about his affairs showed that he was not afraid of the consequences of exposing his strength. This also showed that the King of the North was probably fully grown. Wang Qingkai felt complicated. What should she do now? Could it be that she really wanted to betray Yinyu Pavilion, the Wang family, and the 8th prince? Sitting on the attic, Wang Qingkai looked into the distance quietly, with the breeze blowing on her face. At this time, Lu Chen's figure appeared in her mind again. Then, the scenes that had just happened replayed in her mind, and for a moment, her body became extremely hot and restless. Wang Qingkai sighed. She had discovered that she seemed to be addicted to the feeling of cultivating feelings with the King of the North. Although it was only twice, the feeling this time had been engraved in her heart. If the King of the North died one day, it would be hard for her to imagine how she would calm her restless body without the King of the North. She didn't know how the King of the North did it, but it didn't matter anymore. The important thing was that she couldn't leave the King of the North. Moreover, she thought about it and realized that even if she cooperated with the Blood Moon Tower to kill the Northern King, she would still be just a tool in front of the 8th prince. After all, she was just a killer raised by the Wang family and had no identity, so it actually made no difference whether she was with the 8th prince or with the Northern King. In addition, she didn't know how the Northern King had used a method to make her body unable to leave him, so becoming the Northern King's woman was her best choice. Wang Qingkai then looked in the direction of the Northern King's mansion and said softly, "Your Highness, you win." As her voice fell, the pressure on her seemed to dissipate instantly. She also understood why the Northern King was so confident in letting her go. She couldn't help but sigh in her heart, the Northern King is really a terrible man. Fortunately, she is a woman. If she were a man, she would have died long ago. At this moment, an old woman appeared in the attic. "Saint, there is a letter from the Blood Moon Tower, asking us to find out as soon as possible whether the mysterious master is still in the Northern King's mansion. They will be able to reach Yanshinj in 5 days. Wang Qingkai said expressionlessly, "I know, I will go to the Northern King's mansion in person tonight to test them." In the dead of night, a black figure appeared at the door of the Northern King's mansion. This black figure easily bypassed the guards of the palace and quickly entered the inner courtyard. There are not many powerful warriors in the outer courtyard of the palace, so it is not surprising that someone can sneak in, but not everyone can enter the inner courtyard. The black figure just arrived at the inner courtyard, and before entering the door of the inner courtyard, he was blocked by a woman in white. Chu Yukin looked at the black-clothed man in front of her and said coldly, "Not everyone can enter the palace." As soon as the voice fell, Chu Yukin stabbed the black-clothed woman with a sword. The figure of the woman in black flashed and easily dodged Chu Yukin's sword. Chu Yukin frowned and immediately had a bad premonition in her heart. 9th rank warrior? It looks like she is here to assassinate Chen'er. Just as Chu Yukin was sitting in the car and continuing to take action, the woman said, "Madam Chu, I have something important to discuss with the prince. Please help me, Madam Chu." Hearing this, Chu Yukin sneered and said, "Is there something important to discuss? I'm afraid you are here to assassinate him." Chu Yukin couldn't remember when Lu Chen had any intersection with a 9th rank warrior other than herself. Although the woman's voice sounded familiar, Chu Yukin still didn't dare to be careless and could only regard her as a female assassin. Then Chu Yukin swept another sword towards the woman in black. The woman in black didn't seem to have any intention of confronting Chu Yukin head-on, and kept dodging. Not long after, Lu Chen in the main courtyard heard the movement outside, and he immediately opened the door and came out. Lu Chen has a system that can quickly identify a person's identity, even if the other person is wearing black clothes and a veil. Seeing that the woman in black is Wang Qingkai, Lu Chen's mouth corners slightly raised, and then said to Chu Yukin, "Aunt Chu, she is my person, let her in." After hearing Lu Chen's words, Chu Yukin was stunned. She was very puzzled. When did Lu Chen have a 9th grade warrior's subordinate? And the other party was a woman? She had never heard of or seen other 9th grade warriors around Lu Chen. But Chu Yukin soon let it go. After all, there were too many things about Lu Chen that she didn't know. Chu Yukin had to give way immediately, but she still threatened Wang Qingkai and said, "If you dare to harm the Northern King, you will not be able to leave the Northern King's mansion." Wang Qingkai ignored Chu Yukin's threat and went directly into Lu Chen's room. After entering the room, Wang Qingkai took off her veil. At this time, Lu Chen took a look at Wang Qingkai's whole body. At this time, Wang Qingkai was wearing a tight black dress, which perfectly highlighted her curvy figure, and she looked very special. Lu Chen smiled and asked, "You have only left the palace for less than 2 hours and you come to me again. Do you want to have sex with me again?" Wang Qingkai smiled charmingly and said, "Your Majesty, you are joking. I am not as powerful as you. I came to you this time to tell you that the people from the Blood Moon Tower will arrive in Yanshan in 5 days, and they sent 5 ninth-grade warriors to kill you this time, and even the deputy owner of the Blood Moon Tower was dispatched." After hearing Wang Qingkai's words, Lu Chen's face did not show a trace of uneasiness. He had already read the information from Wang Qingkai's personal information that the Blood Moon Tower had sent people to assassinate him. However, he did not expect that this time the Blood Moon Tower actually sent so many 9th-grade warriors to kill him. Isn't it said that there are very few 9th-grade warriors in this world? How come there are so many 9th-grade warriors now? Is it really okay to send 5 9th-grade warriors to assassinate a useless prince like himself? If he didn't have the system, he would be dead. Seeing that there was no worry on Lu Chen's face, Wang Qingkai thought to himself, as expected, the king of the north has grown up, and he is not afraid of the assassins of the Blood Moon Tower at all. At this time, Lu Chen came behind Wang Qingkai, then passed his hands under her armpits, hugged her waist and whispered in her ear, smiling, "It seems that you have made a choice. However, you betrayed my 8th brother like this, aren't you afraid that he will send someone to kill you?" Wang Qingkai said coquettishly, "This is not caused by the prince. I am your woman now and I can't live without you. I have no choice. What can I do? I just hope that the prince can pity me in the future and don't treat me as a tool and throw me away after use." Lu Chen smiled and said, "Of course." At this point, Lu Chen's head lay on Wang Qingkai's shoulders, smelling the fragrance of Wang Qingkai. Lu Chen calculated in his heart that the people from the Blood Moon Tower would come in a few days. Although he had modern firearms such as the Desert Eagle and the Barrett, if the other side had more people, he would be in danger as soon as he took out his weapon if someone was holding him back. So his own strength must be strengthened. It would be best if he could break through to the 9th-grade warrior in the next few days. The physical fitness of the 9th-grade warrior will be greatly improved in all aspects. Even if the assassins of the Blood Moon building are very fast, with the help of his 9th-grade strength, it will still be easy for Desert Eagle and Bartlett to kill them. However, although the weapon is easy to use, you have to stay alive. If someone on the other side suddenly attacks, your perception is not enough. Even if you have the ability to kill the enemy with one shot, you are likely to be killed by the enemy in advance. Lu Chen asked the system in his heart, "System, how many experience points are needed to upgrade the Qi refining art to the 2nd level?" The voice of the system sounded in Lu Chen's mind. 100 experience points are needed. Hearing this, Lu Chen was delighted. Is it possible to upgrade to the 2nd level with only 100 experience points? So fast? Lu Chen then asked, "After the Qi refining art is upgraded to the 2nd level, can my realm break through to the 7th level?" Lu Chen's question was a little conservative. He originally thought that if the Qi refining art broke through to the 2nd level, his strength would probably break through to the 9th level. At this time, the system voice sounded. After the Qi refining art is upgraded to the 2nd level, the host's realm will be upgraded to the 9th level. Lu Chen was a little excited. As he thought, it was really upgraded to the 9th level. But then again, the Qi refining art is just a Qi refining art, which mainly increases his power and has no actual lethality. In the future, he still has to find a way to obtain a lethal external art. At this time, Wang Qingkai, who was held by Lu Chen, felt something strange in Lu Chen's body. Wang Qingkai's fair face instantly turned rosy, and then a blush spread from her face to her collarbone and neck. Lu Chen whispered in Wang Qingkai's ear at this time, "From now on, you are my slave girl. As a slave girl, do you know what you should do for your master?" Hearing this question, Wang Qingkai was slightly stunned. She was toyed with by this guy for an afternoon during the day, but she didn't expect that this guy was still energetic at night. How could the king of the north have such a strong physical strength? Wang Qingkai was a little surprised. She had been in Beiwa Tower for so long, but she had never heard of that man being as fierce as the king of the north. Wang Qingkai then said, "Your Majesty, I am only here to report the news. Now that the letter has been delivered, I will go back first." At this point, Wang Qingkai half turned around and wanted to push Lu Chen away, but she found that her power had disappeared again. She suddenly felt weak all over and couldn't push Lu Chen away at all. Lu Chen then hugged Wang Qingkai and walked to the bed. Now he had to hurry up to gain experience points for the qi refining art, and he couldn't let Wang Qingkai run away like this. Wang Qingkai finally sighed, feeling a little confused. After becoming the slave girl of the Northern King, she didn't know what the future would be like. With confusion about the future, Wang Qingkai quickly immersed herself in the happiness that Lu Chen brought her. At the same time, outside the yard, Chu Yukin had been guarding the door of the yard after seeing the woman in black enter Lu Chen's room. If something happened in the room, she would rush in as soon as possible. She still didn't trust the woman in black in her heart. That was a 9th grade warrior. She didn't believe that the woman in black had no other purpose in approaching the Northern King. But at this moment, Chu Yukin heard the cheerful voice of a woman from the room. Chu Yukin's brain was startled. That 9th rank warrior is actually Chener's woman. 9th rank warriors are relatively rare in this world, and 9th rank women are even rarer. As a 9th rank warrior, the woman in black was willing to become the woman of a nominally useless prince, which made Chu Yukin feel very incredible. Chu Yukin was a little curious, why did this woman choose Lu Chen? The next morning, Wang Qingkai limped out of Lu Chen's room, and as soon as she came out, she ran into Chu Yukin who was still at the gate of the courtyard. Seeing that it was Wang Qingkai who came out of the room, Chu Yukin's face sank, and she said coldly, "It's you." A 9th rank warrior ran to Beiwa Tower to be a courtesan, and also ran to get close to the King of the North. Who would dare to believe that there is no conspiracy? As a maid next to Lu Chen's mother, Chu Yukin had seen all kinds of conspiracies and tricks, so she thought that Wang Qingkai must have some plot against Lu Chen. Seeing that Chu Yukin was still there, Wang Qingkai was also stunned. In the end, Chu Yukin still held back and didn't do it. After all, Lu Chen had said that Wang Qingkai was his man. However, Chu Yukin still warned coldly, "Although I don't know who you are, I have to remind you that if I know that you have plans for Chener and want to use him to achieve your ulterior motives, not only you, but also the forces behind you will pay the price for it." Hearing this, Wang Qingkai smiled slightly, and then said, "Madam Chu, why do I feel that you are very hostile to me? Could it be that Madam Chu listened to the wall all night last night and got jealous?" As soon as Wang Qingkai finished speaking, a gust of wind spread out from Chu Yukin's body, and Chu Yukin's skirt was blown up. Seeing this scene, Wang Qingkai's smile disappeared instantly. Half-step master, even to the point of releasing internal strength. The Northern Prince's mansion is indeed not as simple as she thought. Then Wang Qingkai turned around and left. "Madam Chu, I will go back first today. Madam Chu, please rest assured that I am just the prince's female slave and cannot shake your position in the prince's heart." Looking at Wang Qingkai's departing back, Chu Yukin fell into deep thought. A 9th rank warrior? She was actually Chener's female slave? If Lu Chen was now the prince of the great Xia dynasty, and he had a 9th rank female slave, Chu Yukin would not find it strange at all. After all, the prince had real power. But in the eyes of outsiders, Lu Chen was a waste who was unlearned and licentious. This Wang Qingkai actually took the initiative to become his female slave? Could it be that the power behind this Wang Qingkai had discovered Chener's disguise? Or the power behind Chener was the power behind Wang Qingkai? At this time, Chu Yukin came to the door of Lu Chen's room, and she thought she needed to remind Lu Chen. Just then, Lu Chen came out of the room and saw Chu Yukin's face was a little serious. Lu Chen asked curiously, "Aunt Chu, what do you want to talk to me about?" Chu Yukin asked, "Chener, is that Wang Qingkai from the power that supports you behind you?" Hearing this question, Lu Chen was confused. What power supports him? Does Aunt Chu think that there is a certain power behind her? Lu Chen thought for a moment. He had behaved too abnormally recently. In addition, he had taken out modern firearms such as Desert Eagle and Barrett, which might have made Chu Yukin think that there was a powerful force behind him. Thinking of this, Lu Chen smiled and said, "Aunt Chu, how did you know?" It was definitely impossible to tell others about the system, but in order to make Chu Yukin feel at ease, Lu Chen planned to make up a lie. Chu Yukin sighed and then said, "Chener, that woman is not simple. She is a 9th grade warrior. I don't want to interfere too much in your affairs, but I still want to remind you when it comes to your personal safety. The force that supports you must have a big plot. Although I don't know their purpose yet, You should not be led by them all the time. If you want the position in the capital, you can tell me, and I will tell your grandfather. At that time, your grandfather and the Chu family will definitely stand on your side, and you don't need to rely on those forces of unknown origin. The Chu family had no intention of giving up on Lu Chen, but Lu Chen was really hopeless, and now he had been driven to the desolate place of Beijun, which forced the Chu family to consider other candidates. After all, Lu Chen was the grandson of the head of the Chu family. In terms of blood relationship, he was the closest among the several princes. If Lu Chen could stand up and dare to stand up and express his intention to participate in the fight for the throne, not to mention the Chu family, most of the Jiangnan families would support him. In Chu Yukin's view, Lu Chen had no need to rely on those forces whose origins were unknown. Hearing Chu Yukin's words, Lu Chen smiled slightly, then walked to Chu Yukin's side, and then naturally held Chu Yukin's jade hand. Chu Yukin's delicate body trembled uncontrollably when Lu Chen held her hand like this, but she did not break free. After all, they used to hold hands and talk about things. Lu Chen said at this time, "Aunt Chu, I know what you are worried about, but I can assure you that the force behind me will obey my orders completely. There are some secrets I cannot tell you directly. Once I tell them, I am afraid that not only Daxia but the whole world will be in chaos. But I can reveal something to you." Chu Yukin's heart trembled slightly. What secret was so horrible that it could lead to chaos in the world? Lu Chen raised Chu Yukin's jade hand at this time, and then wrote the word immortal in the palm of her hand. After feeling the words written by Lu Chen, Chu Yukin was shocked, and a trace of panic appeared on her dignified and elegant face. As everyone knows, this world is a world of martial arts, and there are no immortals. Even if someone reaches the legendary heavenly realm, it is only a few hundred years longer lifespan, and they will die the same way. Countless people have tried various methods to become immortals, and countless emperors of dynasties have tried various methods to become immortals. Immortals searched everywhere for immortals, which eventually led to the collapse of the empire and the change of dynasties. However, immortals are still just distant legends in this world. And now, Lu Chen actually told Chu Yukin that his secret is related to immortals. How could Chu Yukin not be shocked? If Lu Chen's secret is really related to immortals, it may really lead to chaos in the world. Not only chaos in the world, but also the destruction of countless countries and dynasties. Chu Yukin said in panic, "Chen'er, you don't have to say anything more. From today on, don't tell anyone about these two words, including me." Lu Chen asked, "Aunt Chu, do you believe it so quickly?" Chu Yukin said, "I can't help but believe it. The mysterious weapon on your body and the internal force you suddenly generated have proved that what you said is related to those two words." At this point, Chu Yukin still asked with some concern, "Could it be that Wang Qingkai and the forces behind her are also related to the two words you said?" Lu Chen shook his head and said, "No, I just have the means to control them so that they can't betray me. If they betray me, they will die. So far, I am the only one who knows this secret, because I am the only inheritor." Hearing this, Chu Yukin was a little excited, and tears unconsciously fell from her eyes. Seeing this scene, Lu Chen was stunned. "Aunt Chu, why are you crying?" Chu Yukin quickly rolled up her sleeves and wiped her tears, saying as she wiped her tears, "If your mother knew that you had such an opportunity, she would be very happy in her grave." Chu Yukin originally thought that Lu Chen's life would just pass by like this, but she didn't expect that he would actually have a day to get the immortal fate, which is something that many people dream of, and it finally fell on Lu Chen's head. As Chu Yukin, who has watched Lu Chen grow up since childhood, is happy for Lu Chen from the bottom of her heart. With the immortal fate, regardless of whether he can live forever, at least Lu Chen can do many things, such as he can also compete for the position in the capital. Lu Chen hugged Chu Yukin's mature and charming body, then patted her back and comforted her, "Aunt Chu, don't cry, this is something you should be happy about." At this time, the fragrance of Chu Yukin drifted into Lu Chen's nose, and the soft body in his arms made Lu Chen restless. Lu Chen was speechless. The dragon tiger pill was the source of all evil, and it made him lose all self-control. Chu Yukin, who was about to say something, became red in the face after noticing something was wrong. She quickly pushed Lu Chen and said, "Chen'er, let go of your aunt. You are married now. It will be bad for others to see us hugging each other." Lu Chen did not let go, but leaned over to her ear and said, "Aunt Chu, what's the matter? You are the person closest to me. I don't think anyone dares to gossip about you." Besides, you have watched me grow up since I was a child. We have done more intimate things. What's wrong with hugging each other? Hearing this, Chu Yukin became even more flustered. She quickly pushed Lu Chen's body again. As a result, she found that her internal power had dissipated, and she could not use any strength at all. Chu Yukin said quickly, "Chen, don't be like this, you have grown up, you are not a child anymore, you should know how to avoid suspicion in some things." Lu Chen smiled and said, "Aunt Chu, no matter how old I am, you are still my aunt, and I am still your Chen." At this point, Lu Chen hugged Chu Yukin very tightly, and their bodies were completely pressed together. Feeling the heat of Lu Chen's breath, Chu Yukin was already a little confused. Chu Yukin's heart was determined. No. This can't go on. Chu Yukin felt that if she continued like this, something might happen. Then she said to Lu Chen in shame and anger, "Chen, if you don't let me go, I will be angry." Seeing Chu Yukin's blushing cheeks and angry look, Lu Chen had to let her go. Lu Chen was not in a hurry at this moment. Most women in ancient times cared about their reputation. Although Chu Yukin's favorability was very high, she might not be able to accept the relationship between him and her for a while. It would be fine after a while. After seeing Lu Chen let go, Chu Yukin quickly stepped back and pulled a distance from Lu Chen, but she did not continue to blame Lu Chen. Chu Yukin sensed her own power and found that her power had returned. She asked curiously, "Chen, my power disappeared just now. Is this related to your chance?" Lu Chen replied, "Well, it has something to do with the practice I practice. Any woman who loves me will temporarily lose her power and become weak all over after touching my body." Hearing this, Chu Yukin instantly understood what Lu Chen meant. She glared at Lu Chen, then blushed and spat, saying, "You little bad guy, what nonsense are you talking about? I'm your aunt. Okay, I won't talk nonsense with you anymore. I'm going on patrol." Before she finished speaking, Chu Yukin turned and left, or to be more precise, she turned and ran away. Chu Yukin felt that her heart was about to jump out at this moment, and her body became extremely hot. What did she hear just now? That little bad guy was actually thinking about her. How dare he think about it, she is his aunt. Although they are not related by blood, he has also watched her grow up since he was a child. Moreover, she was a widow. Although she was still innocent and had never had sex, she had been married after all. How could he have any thoughts about her? But then again, she had gradually lost control. When she was in Beijing, she often checked Lu Chen's body, but she didn't have the feeling she had today. It had only been a few months, and she actually had that kind of thought about Lu Chen. Chu Yukin felt a little guilty. How could she have other thoughts about Lu Chen? Chu Yukin sighed and said to herself, "Alas, it seems that Chen has really grown up and has become more and more manly. I have to keep my distance from him in the future." Then Chu Yukin began to practice, trying to calm her restless body. At this time, Lu Chen stood in place. Seeing Chu Yukin's plump figure and charming back, he suddenly felt as if his body was about to burn. Then he immediately went to the north courtyard. At this time, Zhou Yuyu had just got up and was ready to go to Mu Zixuan's place. "Xiaohuan, I'm going to Sister Mu first. Come over after you've packed up." Zhou Yuyu went out the door. As soon as she went out, she ran into Lu Chen. Without saying a word, Lu Chen directly picked up Zhou Yuyu's delicate body and walked into the room. Zhou Yuyu exclaimed, "Ah, Prince." Hearing Zhou Yuyu's voice, Xiaohuan, the maid who was making the bed, turned her head quickly. Seeing Lu Chen holding Zhou Yuyu, Xiaohuan's face flushed instantly. As a maid in the palace, how could she not understand what was going to happen next? Xiaohuan quickly got out of the way, then left the room and closed the door. The host and Zhou Yuyu cultivate feelings once, and the experience value of the qi refining art is increased by 10, and the experience value of the rejuvenation hand is increased by 20. Congratulations on successfully getting Zhou Yuyu pregnant, and you will be rewarded with 10,000 kilograms of breeding potatoes. The reward for pregnancy is an encouraging reward, so the reward is small. You can get a richer reward if you successfully give birth to a child. After his body stabilized, Lu Chen felt much better. What happened today also made Lu Chen realize that he had to break through to the 9th rank quickly, otherwise he would not be able to control his body and it would be easy for problems to occur. It didn't matter what he did in the mansion and in the inner courtyard, after all, the inner courtyard was full of his own people. But if one day he left the palace and went outside, if he still couldn't control himself when he saw a beautiful woman, then he would be embarrassed. After calming down, Lu Chen looked down at the little beauty in his arms. Zhou Yu's starry eyes were slightly closed, her face was flushed, and her jade arms like lotus roots were placed on his shoulders. Zhou Yu was the kind of petite and cute type. When Lu Chen thought about how he had been cultivating feelings with her recently and she didn't have much rest, he felt a little guilty. Although this was his woman, Lu Chen didn't regard her as a tool for having children. He really liked them. At this time, Lu Chen took a look at the reward he had just received, and a smile appeared on his face. Then he gently stroked Zhou Yu's skin and said in her ear, "Yu, you are really my lucky star. With 10,000 kilograms of breeding potatoes, it won't take many years for the entire Beijun to be planted with potatoes. Because of the cold weather, Beijun is not suitable for growing rice, and the yield of wheat is not very high. But potatoes are different. The soil in Beijun is just suitable for growing potatoes. When Beijun grows potatoes, Beijun will have an additional food, and the people will no longer be so short of food. What is the most important thing in an agricultural society? Of course, food is the most important. Only with food in hand can you be calm." After Wang Qingkai returned to Beihua Tower, the old woman from yesterday came to her again. "Saintess, how did you find out last night?" Wang Qingkai replied calmly, "I haven't found the existence of the mysterious master yet. Only Chu Yukin, a 9th-rank master, is in the inner courtyard." Hearing this, the old woman immediately said, "Saintess, since the mysterious master is no longer in the northern palace, let's do it tonight." Wang Qingkai frowned, and then asked, "Grandma you seem to be in a hurry." Chen Yu hurriedly said, "Saintess, this task was originally assigned to us by the 8th prince. If we wait until the people from the Blood Moon Tower arrive to complete the task, your status in front of the 8th prince will inevitably plummet. We might as well complete the task before the Blood Moon Tower arrives, so that the 8th prince can see your value." Wang Qingkai then said, "No need, since the 8th prince has already sent people from the Blood Moon Tower to ensure that there is no room for error. If we act in advance and alert the enemy, causing the assassination mission to fail, the 8th prince will blame us, and our entire Yanyu pavilion cannot afford it." Seeing Wang Qingkai say this, Chen Yu couldn't continue to say more. A few hours later, Beijun, Yubei City. A group of people in black and red clothes were sitting in a restaurant. At this time, a bird flew to the shoulder of a man wearing a bamboo hat. The man caught the bird, took the paper tied to it from its claws, and then opened the paper and took a look. After reading the content on the paper, the corners of the man's mouth rose slightly. "Very good. Since the master has left, you, the useless prince, should also go down to accompany my brothers." In the evening, another black shadow appeared in the inner courtyard of the palace. Different time, same place, same person. After seeing this black shadow, Chu Yukin was about to draw her sword, but heard the black shadow say, "Madam Chu, it's so late, why haven't you rested yet? You have worked so hard for the safety of the prince. It seems that Madam Chu really cares about the prince." Hearing that it was Wang Qingkai's voice, Chu Yukin snorted coldly, "Sneaky, what a look." Although Lu Chen had told her in the morning that Wang Qingkai was his man and that he could completely control them. But for some reason, Chu Yukin always felt a little uncomfortable. She didn't like Wang Qingkai at all. Wang Qingkai was about to say something, but she heard Lu Chen's voice coming from the room at this time. "Qingkai, come in quickly when you come." Hearing Lu Chen's voice, Wang Qingkai had to immediately bypass Chu Yukin and enter Lu Chen's room. When Lu Chen and Wang Qingkai were cultivating their relationship last night, Lu Chen found that his qi refining technique did not increase his experience points. Later, he asked the system and found out that a woman could only provide him with experience points once a day. He had cultivated feelings with Wang Qingkai just once during the day yesterday, and came again at night, so naturally there was no experience point. There was no way, Lu Chen had to let Wang Qingkai come every night these days. He had to quickly upgrade to the 9th level. Not long after Wang Qingkai entered Lu Chen's room, her voice was heard. Chu Yukin, who was standing at the gate of the courtyard, heard her voice and said coldly, "You are so shameless." Chu Yukin naturally would not say her own Chen'er, so she could only scold Wang Qingkai. After the voice fell, Chu Yukin turned and left. She didn't want to continue eavesdropping here, otherwise she would not be able to bear it later. At the same time, In the room. After Lu Chen and Wang Qingkai cultivated their feelings, the system prompt sounded. The host and Wang Qingkai cultivated feelings once, and the experience value of the qi refining art increased by 20. This cultivation of feelings triggered an emotional crit, gaining an additional 40 experience points, and the experience value of the rejuvenation hand increased by 20. The rejuvenation hand broke through to the first level. Hearing the system prompt, Lu Chen was stunned for a moment, and then he was extremely excited. He originally thought that after Zhou Yuyu became pregnant, it would be difficult for him to break through to the 9th level before the arrival of the Blood Moon Tower, unless Chu Yukin was pushed away. Otherwise, Wang Qingkai can only provide himself with 20 experience points every day, and it will take at least 5 days. Maybe before 5 days, those guys from the Blood Moon building will come to Yanqing. As a result, he gained 60 experience points today. Emotional crit, that's really a good thing. If there are more emotional crits, wouldn't it be easier for him to improve his realm in the future? Just as Lu Chen was thinking this, he found that his hand seemed to emit green gas. What is this? Lu Chen raised his right hand, changed to his left hand to hug Wang Qingkai, and then looked at his right hand carefully. System, what's wrong with my hand? This is the ability of the rejuvenation hand. The host can use the rejuvenation hand to heal diseases and injuries in the future. Hearing the system's voice, Lu Chen put his right hand down and wanted to try the ability of the rejuvenation hand. When his right hand touched Wang Qingkai's delicate body again, Wang Qingkai couldn't help but let out a whimper. My lord, what are you doing? My waist feels so good. Hearing this, Lu Chen's eyes lit up. He didn't expect that the rejuvenation hand would work immediately after just touching Wang Qingkai's body. Soon Lu Chen understood what was going on. It turned out that when he triggered the emotional attack before, he was too angry and too fierce, and accidentally hurt Wang Qingkai's waist. Now the spiritual energy gathered on his right hand is helping Wang Qingkai repair the muscle damage in her body, so Wang Qingkai feels very comfortable. The rejuvenation hand is a very good skill. In the future, if there are some minor injuries or illnesses, they will be able to recover quickly. At this time, Lu Chen patted Wang Qingkai's buttocks with his big hand, and then smiled and said, How does it feel to be my slave girl? Hearing this, Wang Qingkai's cheeks flushed, and her eyes were full of spring, and she replied, My lord, please don't humiliate me. Wang Qingkai didn't know what her future would be like, but she had gotten used to being with Lu Chen. Although they had only cultivated their feelings together a few times, she couldn't leave Lu Chen. This bad man not only captured her heart, but also conquered her whole being. Lu Chen said at this time, When I solve the matter of Blood Moon Tower, you can move to the palace. Hearing this, Wang Qingkai was silent for a moment. To be honest, she also wanted to come to the palace to serve Lu Chen every day. But she thought of a problem, that is, in front of the King of the North, can her value only be shown in bed? Although her body and mind are in the shape of the King of the North, Wang Qingkai does not want to completely become a tool for the King of the North to satisfy his low-level desires in the future. She wants to show a lot of value in front of Lu Chen. Only in this way can she go further, and the King of the North will value her more as a female slave. Even if one day in the future she is old and ugly, if she has made great contributions to the palace, the King of the North is unlikely to kill the donkey. Thinking of this, Wang Qingkai said, Your Majesty, I want to stay in Beiwa Tower all the time to collect intelligence for you. Hearing this, Lu Chen asked in confusion, Don't you want to come to the palace to serve me? Wang Qingkai said quickly, It's not like that. I just think that if I come to the palace like this, people will think I am from the palace, and then I won't be able to collect intelligence for the prince. After the assassination in the Blood Moon Tower, the 8th prince will definitely not give up. He may send someone to assassinate the prince. If the prince has me as a chess piece, then no matter what the 8th prince does, I can inform the prince immediately. After hearing what Wang Qingkai said, Lu Chen felt that it made some sense. Beiwa Tower is a place of fireworks, and it is indeed easy to collect intelligence. And his 8th brother may not give up. If Wang Qingkai, the saint of the Misty Rain Pavilion, is here, maybe he can monitor Lu Shiyun's every move in the future. This is also a good thing for him. Thinking of this, Lu Chen gently stroked Wang Qingkai's jade back, and then said, Okay, then you continue to stay in Beiwa Tower. If my 8th brother makes any moves in the future, notify me immediately. Seeing that Lu Chen agreed to her proposal, Wang Qingkai was very happy. Finally, she found an opportunity to show her own value. This is a good start, which means that her value is no longer just for Lu Chen to play with. The next day, after getting up in the morning, Lu Chen simply ate something, and then went to find Chu Yukin. Seeing Lu Chen's extremely energetic appearance, Chu Yukin was a little curious. Why is Lu Chen entangled with women every day, but his body does not seem to be affected too much? It stands to reason that men will lose their vitality when they have sex, and women are a taboo for martial artists. Warriors often say, women will only affect the speed of my sword drawing, and this sentence is not groundless. If you indulge in women, it is indeed possible to reduce the reaction speed of warriors. Chu Yukin thought to herself, is it because Lu Chen has a fairy fate? So he will not be affected by men and women? Seeing Chu Yukin's beautiful eyes sweeping over him, Lu Chen smiled and said, Aunt Chu, is there anything on me? After Chu Yukin came to her senses, she realized her loss of composure. She quickly coughed and said, Chen, I found that you have been having sex every day recently. Although it is important to pass on the family line, you should also take care of your health. Lu Chen smiled and said, Don't worry, Aunt Chu, I know what's going on. By the way, Aunt Chu, I came to you today and I have something to tell you. When he said this, Lu Chen's face became serious. Lu Chen is like this. When he talks about serious matters, he will not smile. Seeing Lu Chen's serious face, Chu Yukin knew that there must be something important, so she asked, Chen, is it about the palace? Lu Chen nodded, I have asked someone to invite General Li Feng. I believe he will come to the palace soon. Seeing Lu Chen mention Li Feng, Chu Yukin realized that what Lu Chen was going to say might not be simple. At this time, the maid outside came in and said, Your Highness, General Li is here. Lu Chen said, Aunt Chu, let's go to the martial arts training ground first. Okay. After the voice fell, the two went to the martial arts training ground of the palace. Li Feng, wearing armor, was walking back and forth in the martial arts training ground, and the armor on his body made a clanging sound. He was very curious about what important matter the King of the North was looking for him at this time. After the King of the North came to Beijun, it seemed that he did nothing except let him train the army. Even the opening of shops was the responsibility of the princess, while the King of the North was spending money in the inner courtyard. Of course, Li Feng always thought that this was the King of the North confusing others, making outsiders think that he was a useless prince. At this time, Li Feng couldn't help but wonder, did the King of the North look for him at this time because he felt that the time was ripe? Can he start his next plan? After Lu Chen and Chu Yukin arrived at the martial arts training ground, Li Feng hurried over to salute and said, Your Highness, I'm here to see you, Madam Chu. Lu Chen nodded slightly, then said, Let me get down to business. I've got intelligence that the Blood Moon Tower has sent assassins to kill me. This time, they not only sent 5 9th-rank masters, but the deputy owner of the Blood Moon Tower has also come in person. Hearing this, Li Feng's face changed instantly, and then he asked, Your Highness, are you sure that the deputy owner of the Blood Moon Tower will come in person? Li Feng had heard of the deputy owner of the Blood Moon Tower. It was said that the man had reached the level of a half-step grandmaster, which made him very worried. Lu Chen said, if the intelligence is correct, he should have come in person. Chu Yukin thought for a moment, then said, the Blood Moon Tower is really bold. They dared to send people to assassinate you again and again. Lu Chen said, if they didn't have someone to support them, they wouldn't dare to do this. Li Feng looked at Lu Chen and asked tentatively, My lord, what are you going to do? Li Feng knew that Lu Chen had a weapon that could easily kill a 9th-grade master, so he thought that the King of the North should not be afraid of the assassins sent by the Blood Moon Tower. But since Lu Chen found him, there must be some arrangement. Lu Chen did not answer immediately, but asked, General Li, have you completely controlled the army of Beijun? Li Feng replied, Your Highness, don't worry. Under the rectification of my subordinates, the army of Beijun has completely belonged to the Northern Palace. Lu Chen said, this is the best. Since the people from the Blood Moon Tower are coming, we will treat them well. By the way, General Li, go and call the soldiers who escorted me to Beijun later. I have something else to tell you. Hearing this, Li Feng asked cautiously, Your Highness, in what name do you call them? The more than 100 soldiers are all warriors of the 3rd and 4th ranks. Although there are only more than 100 warriors of the 3rd and 4th ranks, in a poor place like Beijun, these people are also a very powerful force. If they are all sent to the northern palace, it will inevitably make the people of Yanqing curious. Moreover, there are still many people watching the northern palace. After Lu Chen came to Beijing, he had fun every day. As a result, he suddenly summoned so many soldiers at this time. It is hard not to doubt whether the northern palace is going to do something big. Lu Chen thought for a moment and said, "Just tell them that their family members have arrived in Beijing. I will take this opportunity to hold a banquet to thank them for their escort and meet their relatives." Li Feng instantly understood what Lu Chen meant and said, "Okay, Your Majesty, I will do it right away." Li Feng then turned and left Bawang Mansion. After Li Feng left, Chu Yukin looked at Lu Chen and said, "Chen, the deputy owner of the Blood Moon Tower should have reached the level of a half-step master. I can hold him back at that time, but I'm afraid it will be difficult to contain the other 5 ninth-grade warriors." Although the mysterious weapon on Lu Chen is indeed powerful and can kill a 9th-grade warrior in an instant, if the other party attacks together, Lu Chen may not be able to react. Chu Yukin was a little worried. There must be more than 6 people from the Blood Moon Tower who came to assassinate Lu Chen this time. Last time, they sent a lot of 3rd and 4th grade warriors to assassinate Lu Chen. This time when they come to Beijing, they will definitely send many 3rd and 4th grade warriors. Those 3rd and 4th rank warriors were not the main force, but they could hold back the people in the northern palace, making it difficult for them to protect Lu Chen. After the last incident, Chu Yukin also realized that her ability alone was limited. Even if she could withstand the attack of a half-step master, she could not contain everyone. Last time, facing the assassination of the Blood Moon Tower, if Lu Chen had not taken out the mysterious weapon at the critical moment, she would probably have lost her Chen forever. Lu Chen understood what Chu Yukin was worried about, and then he said to Chu Yukin, "And Chu, wait for General Li to come back later, I will show you something." Hearing this, Chu Yukin was a little excited. She guessed that Lu Chen should show her a weapon, but she didn't know what kind of weapon it was. Then, the palace began to get busy. After hearing that Lu Chen was going to host a banquet for the relatives of the soldiers who escorted them to Beijing, Music Xuan took the initiative to take charge of this matter. When it was almost noon, many people entered the northern palace. Seeing the carriages and horses coming and going, people were a little curious and thought that the northern king had taken a concubine again. As the main person in charge of Yanyu Pavilion in Yanqing, Chen Yu saw so many people coming and going in Bawang Mansion and felt something was wrong, so she disguised herself a little, came to the door of Bawang Mansion, and found someone to ask about Bawang Mansion. "Sir, is there something big going on in Bawang Mansion today? Why is it so lively?" Hearing this question, the young man who was watching the excitement in front of Chen Yu replied, "I heard that the king of the north is going to entertain the soldiers and relatives who escorted him to Beijing." The young man whispered at this time, "It is said that if it weren't for those people, the king of the north would have died on the way to Beijing." After hearing the young man's answer, Chen Yu breathed a sigh of relief. So that's the case. She thought the king of the north had already noticed something. The Blood Moon Tower will come to Beijing in a few days. If the king of the north notices any clues at this time, it will be troublesome. Then Chen Yu returned to the Beiwa Tower and told Wang Qingkai what happened in the king of the north's mansion today. Wang Qingkai was a little confused after hearing about the movements of the king of the north's mansion. If Lu Chen planned to lay out in advance, he wouldn't have started laying out now. After all, the people from the Blood Moon Tower hadn't arrived yet. Could it be that the king of the north really just wanted to thank the soldiers who escorted him to Beijing? Wang Qingkai always felt a little strange, but now she was the king of the north's person, so she didn't need to explore too much about what the king of the north was going to do. Besides, she still had to go to the northern palace to serve the northern king tonight. If she wanted to know what the northern king was doing, she could just ask him in the evening. At noon, Lu Chen he said some words of thanks at the banquet, and then let everyone eat and drink. At this time, Li Feng came to Lu Chen and whispered, "Your Majesty, everyone is here." Lu Chen nodded, and then said, "After dinner, come to the backyard of the palace." As soon as the voice fell, Lu Chen started drinking with the soldiers. It was impossible to tell that he had something important to talk to them about later. After lunch, the soldiers came to the backyard drunk. Lu Chen said he would reward them, but the soldiers were not fools and knew that the northern king had something to talk to them about. After arriving at the backyard, Lu Chen glanced at the soldiers. The loyalty of these soldiers was basically above 80, and they were considered his own people. When Chu Yukin saw that everyone was gathered, she asked. "Chen, what is it that you said you were going to show us?" Lu Chen smiled, and then had someone bring in a few cattle and sheep that had just been slaughtered at noon, and wrapped them up in fine armor. Then Lu Chen took out a grenade that was bigger than an adult's fist, and said to everyone, "Everyone step back 50 steps." Hearing this, everyone stepped back 50 steps without thinking. Then, Lu Chen opened the safety pin and threw the grenade directly. The next moment, a deafening sound came, scaring the drunken soldiers so much that they lost their drunkenness. After a while, their ears were still buzzing. As the grenade exploded, a cloud of white smoke rose in the distance, and countless holes appeared in the armor wrapped around the cattle and sheep. Seeing this scene, the soldiers were stunned and stood there in a daze, not daring to move. Heavenly thunder? Their prince can summon heavenly thunder? Is it true? Is this something that people can do? Could it be that their prince is an immortal? Although some of the soldiers were still confused, Li Feng and Chu Yukin had already realized that the sound was caused by the thing in Lu Chen's hand. But even so, Li Feng and Chu Yukin were still extremely shocked. Lu Chen said at this time, "Okay, come and take a look." As soon as the voice fell, Lu Chen walked towards the place where the explosion just happened. Seeing that their prince had walked up, the soldiers hurriedly followed. Rank Lu Chen's grenades were obtained from the novice gift pack, and he had never used them. In order to test the explosion range of these grenades, Lu Chen took one out for a test explosion. The grenades in the novice gift pack are much larger than the ordinary grenades on Earth. They are not portable grenades, so they are more powerful. When Lu Chen approached the place where the grenade exploded, he found that the armor within a range of 10 meters was penetrated by the fragments of the grenade explosion, and the bodies of cattle and sheep were full of holes. After seeing the wounds on the cattle and sheep, the soldiers couldn't help but feel a little scared. Fortunately, they were far away. If they were closer, their bodies would probably be full of blood holes. At this time, Lu Chen said to Chu Yukin and Li Feng, "General Li, and Chu, what do you think of the weapon I used just now?" Li Feng immediately said, "The prince has this kind of artifact, and he will definitely unify the world." As soon as Li Feng finished speaking, the soldiers half knelt in unison, and then said in unison, "We congratulate the prince on obtaining the artifact. The prince will definitely unify the world and shock the world." Lu Chen was a little speechless, a bunch of flatterers. "Okay, get up." Hearing Lu Chen's words, the soldiers immediately stood up again. Chu Yukin asked at this time, "Chen, isn't that thing just now disposable? Do you still have a lot?" Lu Chen said, "Not many, only dozens, but when the conditions are ripe in the future, we can make them ourselves." Hearing Lu Chen's answer, Chu Yukin was extremely excited. With this kind of artifact, it would be easier for Lu Chen to compete for the position in the capital in the future. At this time, Lu Chen took out a grenade from his sleeve like a magic trick, and then said to Li Feng, "General Li, I will teach you how to use it first. When the assassins from the Blood Moon Tower come, you can use this thing to entertain them well." "Yes, Your Majesty." Then, Lu Chen taught Li Feng and the soldiers how to use the grenade. Of course, this time he did not pull out the safety pin directly. After teaching the soldiers how to use it, Lu Chen said to the soldiers, "When the King of the North was rewarding the soldiers, a thunderbolt fell from the palace, and the King of the North was scared and hid in the room for an afternoon." When the soldiers heard Lu Chen's words, they immediately understood what Lu Chen meant. After all, the sound of the grenade explosion was too loud, and the people around the palace must have heard it. If you don't find an excuse, it might arouse people's suspicion. After Lu Chen finished speaking, he asked people to quickly clean up the backyard, and then he returned to the main courtyard. After Li Feng and the soldiers left the backyard, their relatives surrounded them and asked them what had just happened. Li Feng and the others said that a thunderbolt had just fallen from the backyard, which scared the prince. In the evening, the news that the Northern King's mansion was struck by thunder spread throughout Yanshanj. People suspected that the Northern King had done something unscrupulous, so he was struck by thunder. At the same time, Beiwa Tower. Wang Qingkai was sitting on the beauty couch in the attic, with her cloud skirt half pulled up, showing a very lazy look. At this time, Chen Yu came to the attic. "Grandma Yu, what's the matter?" Wang Qingkai asked first. Chen Yu replied, "Saint, our people have heard the news that at noon, when the Northern King was rewarding the soldiers after lunch, thunder fell from the sky, and the Northern King was scared and hid in the room for an afternoon." Hearing this, Wang Qingkai smiled slightly, then got up from the beauty couch, showing a very interested look. That's interesting. Is the Northern King injured? Wang Qingkai naturally didn't think that Lu Chen was really frightened by the thunder and hid in the room for an afternoon. She only suspected that the Northern King was preparing something. When you hear the words, frightened by the thunder, you know that it is to divert people's attention. Chen Yu said at this time, we don't know about this. Wang Qingkai said lightly, then I will go to the Northern King's mansion to find out the news at night. Hearing this, Chen Yu said worriedly, Saint, you go to the Northern King's mansion every night, it is easy to be discovered by Chu Yukin. Before the people from the Blood Moon Tower arrive, I think it's better for you not to go to the Northern King's mansion for the time being. Wang Qingkai said, don't worry about this. I usually don't get close to the inner courtyard, and Chu Yukin can't find it. At this point, Wang Qingkai stood up and prepared to change clothes and go to the Northern King's mansion. In the dead of night, a black figure appeared in the inner courtyard of the Northern King's mansion again. At this time, Chu Yukin was still patrolling in the inner courtyard. Because of the grenade incident during the day, Chu Yukin was worried that spies would come to the Northern Palace to inquire about the news, so she was particularly serious tonight. When she saw a black figure swaggering in the main courtyard of the Northern Palace, Chu Yukin was about to take action, but she heard the woman in black smiling and saying, this servant greets Madam Chu. Madam Chu, good evening. Hearing that it was Wang Qingkai's voice, Chu Yukin snorted coldly and said, take off your veil. Wang Qingkai took off the veil without hesitation. After confirming that it was Wang Qingkai's identity, Chu Yukin turned around and left without talking nonsense to Wang Qingkai. Seeing Chu Yukin's back as she left, Wang Qingkai's mouth corners slightly raised, and then he said to himself, it seems that Madam Chu really hates me. After the voice fell, Wang Qingkai walked towards Lu Chen's room. After entering the room, Wang Qingkai originally planned to ask Lu Chen if anything happened in the palace during the day, but he was blocked before he could say anything. Wang Qingkai was somewhat speechless. Although she had a great change in her opinion of the Northern King, she also found that the rumors about the Northern King's lust were absolutely true. The Northern King could no longer be described as lustful, he was simply a lustful ghost. Wang Qingkai naturally didn't know why Lu Chen was so anxious. Lu Chen only needed 30 experience points to break through to the second level of the Qi refining art. Of course, he was very anxious. He couldn't wait to become a 9th grade warrior. As he and Wang Qingkai completed the relationship cultivation, the system prompt finally sounded. The host and Wang Qingkai cultivate a relationship once, the experience points of the Qi refining art increase by 20, trigger an emotional crit, and the experience points increase by another 40. The Qi refining art breaks through to the second level, and the experience points of the rejuvenation hand increase by 10. Congratulations to the host for reaching the 9th level. After hearing the system prompt, Lu Chen calmed down. Then he felt a great force pouring into his body. For a moment, his body became lighter and his whole body seemed to have endless strength. Not only that, he found that his eyes became clearer and his brain was particularly energetic. After enjoying the unique feeling brought by the realm improvement, Lu Chen couldn't help but sigh in his heart, is this a 9th grade warrior? I never thought that one day I would be able to become a 9th grade warrior. When he was in the capital, he always thought that he would just lie down like this for the rest of his life and would be an ordinary person all his life. After all, he had no talent for martial arts and couldn't bear the hardship of practicing martial arts. Unexpectedly, after obtaining the system, he broke through to the 9th grade in less than half a year. Great. After his own strength improved, he also had a certain ability to protect himself. In the future, he can go out appropriately and plan the future development direction of Beijun. A few days later. Beihua Tower. Today, many guests came to the door of Beihua Tower and found that the door was closed. There was a sign at the door with a line of words saying that Beihua Tower would be closed for renovation in preparation for the Warren Conference in half a month. This kind of thing is not surprising. The reason why Beihua Tower has become the most lively place in Yanqing is because of the continuous upgrading and renovation of Beihua Tower, which provides guests with a lot of new and interesting things. Moreover, after each upgrade and renovation, many beautiful girls will come. This renovation also makes the guests of Beihua Tower look forward to it. Of course, this renovation of Beihua Tower is not a real renovation, but because the guests of Suiyu Tower have arrived. At this time, in the attic of Beihua Tower, a man wearing a bamboo hat was looking in the direction of Bawang Mansion. Wang Qingkai sat on the beauty couch, with her two slender legs crossed, and her buttocks pressed the couch slightly concave. Lu Yuan said at this time, "Thank you Miss Wang for giving me the opportunity to take revenge myself." In Lu Yuan's opinion, if Yinyu Pavilion wanted to take action against the King of the North, they would be able to kill him without the mysterious master. But they did not take action, but waited for the arrival of the Blood Moon Tower before discussing how to assassinate the King of the North, which gave the Blood Moon Tower the opportunity to take action. Wang Qingkai smiled and said, "Master Lu, I didn't wait until today for you, I wanted to ensure that this assassination would be foolproof." Lu Yuan said, "No matter what Miss Wang thinks, objectively it still gives me a chance." At this time, Lu Yuan wanted to rush into the King of the North Palace and chop off the King of the North's head with his own hands. Although his younger brother Lu Tong might have been killed by the mysterious master of the King of the North Palace, he still put the debt on the King of the North. The reason is very simple. First of all, he may not be the opponent of the mysterious master. Secondly, Lu Tong died because of the assassination of the King of the North, which is related to the King of the North. The mysterious master can't be found and can't be beaten, so he can only kill the King of the North to vent his anger. At first, he thought that the task of assassinating the useless Prince Baiwang was simple, so he asked his brother to go. Unexpectedly, when he saw Lu Tong again, Lu Tong's body had been burnt. If Baiwang had not died in his hands, it would have been difficult to eliminate the hatred in his heart. Wang Qingkai asked at this time, "Master Lu, are you planning to start tonight?" Lu Yuan said, "Yes, I can't wait to chop off the head of the Northern King to pay tribute to the spirit of my brother in heaven." Wang Qingkai said, "Well, our Yinyu Pavilion will fully cooperate with the Blood Moon Pavilion tonight. If you need anything, just let Master Lu know." Lu Yuan asked, "Miss Wang, just in case, I have one more question. Are you sure that the mysterious master who followed the Northern King to the palace has left?" Wang Qingkai smiled and said, "I have been to the palace many times just to inquire about this matter. According to the information I have collected, the mysterious master has indeed left the palace and returned to the Chu family." Lu Yuan said, "If so, that would be the best." Wang Qingkai smiled and said, "Master Lu, even if the information collected by our Yinyu Pavilion may be false, you don't have to worry too much. Even if the mysterious master returns to the Northern Palace again, with your strength, it should be no problem to hold him back. While you are holding him back, we can definitely get rid of the North King." Lu Yuan thought about it and felt that what Wang Qingkai said made sense. After all, they have 5 ninth grade masters and 1 half-step master this time. If you don't count the mysterious master, there is only 1 ninth grade master in the North Palace, Chu Yukin. 1 ninth grade master has no way to restrain 6 ninth grade masters. So the North King will definitely die tonight. Even if the mysterious master comes, it will be useless. At this time, Wang Qingkai took out a map of the North Palace. This is a map of the North Palace. When we take action tonight, our people from the Misty Rain Pavilion will go directly to the backyard to block the North King's escape route. As for the matter in the front yard, it will be left to the Blood Moon Tower to complete. I wonder what you think, Master Lu. If the owner of the Lu building has other ideas, you can also put them forward." Lu Yuan thought for a while, and then said, "Okay, let's do it according to what Miss Wang said. However, if Chu Yukin wants to stop me at that time, can Miss Wang hold her for a while for me so that I can go and get the head of the Northern King? Chu Yukin is a difficult person to deal with. If she comes out to stop him from killing Lu Chen, he may need to spend some time to get rid of her entanglement. Although he can let other 9th grade people kill him, Lu Yuan wants to do it himself." Wang Qingkai said, "That's no problem." Then Wang Qingkai said, "Well, let's prepare ourselves." At the same time, Northern King's Mansion. When the Blood Moon Tower arrived at the 100 Flowers Tower, Lu Chen received the news from Wang Qingkai, and he immediately began to dispatch troops and prepared an ambush in the palace. This time he distributed a total of 20 grenades to the soldiers, which were enough to deal with Lu Yuan and his men. Moreover, they did not throw grenades right away. When the people from Blood Moon Tower entered the circle they had ambushed, the soldiers would first shoot arrows. In an ambush, even if Lu Yuan and his people were at least at the 3rd or 4th level, most of them would be shot to death by arrows. Grenades were mainly used to deal with the 5 9th level and the deputy owner of Blood Moon Tower. In order to prevent Mu Zixuan and the other 3 pregnant wives from being frightened, Lu Chen moved them to the secret passage of the palace in advance. After everything was ready, they waited for the night to fall. The cold wind blew at night. There was no moon or stars tonight, and thick dark clouds accumulated above people's heads, as if the sky was about to fall. At this time, the entire North Palace was frighteningly quiet, except for the sound of the wind. After an unknown amount of time, a group of people in black clothes broke in directly from the main gate of the palace. When Lu Yuan and his people entered the palace, they did not find anyone at the door, not even a patrolling guard. This made Lu Yuan feel a little bad. The North Palace was so big that it was impossible for there to be no guards. Maybe the king of the North knew about their coming in advance and ran away. At this time, Lu Yuan had not thought about the possibility that the king of the North's mansion would ambush them. After all, there were enough 9th grade warriors coming this time, and they did not take the North's mansion seriously at all. In Lu Yuan's opinion, even if the king of the North's mansion knew they were coming, the king of the North would only be scared and run away, and it was impossible for them to ambush them. Unless the king of the North's brain is broken, he would not do such a thing. At this time, Lu Yuan's face darkened. If the king of the North really ran away, it would probably take some time to kill him. The capital could not wait, and he did not want to waste time. Then Lu Yuan said to his subordinates, "Search for me. Even if you have to dig 3 feet into the ground, you must find the king of the North for me." Following Lu Yuan's order, the people from the Blood Moon Building immediately rushed into the Northern Palace. Just as the people from the Blood Moon Building came to the martial arts training ground, countless arrows flew from the sky. At this time, someone shouted loudly, "Master! We have been tricked." Looking at the rain of arrows in the sky, Lu Yuan was not panicked at all. He just snorted coldly and said, "It's just a dying struggle. The 9th grade warrior cannot be killed by a rain of arrows, not to mention that he is a half-step master and can already release his internal strength. These rains of arrows have no way to hit him, and even if they hit him, they can't cause him any harm." In his eyes, this kind of ambush and sneak attack is just a small move. Lu Yuan immediately said, "Come closer to me immediately." Hearing this, the people from the Blood Moon Building quickly turned their backs, and then waved their swords continuously to resist the rain of arrows from the sky. Seeing this scene, Lu Chen was stunned. Damn, is this the world where martial arts exist? The last time he came to Beijing to be theft, he was in the carriage and did not see the scene of his personal guards resisting the rain of arrows. Today's scene shocked him. Without using a shield, using the sword in his hand, he could actually resist the rain of arrows? Although some people did not completely block it and were still shot to death, most of the people in the Blood Moon Building survived. Today's scene also made Lu Chen realize how important the fragmentation grenade given to him by the system was. If there were no grenades, I am afraid that with the few people in their palace, there would be no way to deal with the assassins in the Blood Moon Building. At this time, Lu Chen also felt a little fortunate that the system gave him a novice gift pack with modern killing weapons such as grenades. As soon as the arrows prepared by the palace soldiers were shot, Lu Yuan looked at the roof in the distance and said sarcastically, "With just these few arrows, you want to shoot us? Is the king of the North a little too naive?" Lu Chen had no intention of talking nonsense with Lu Yuan. He said directly to Li Feng and others, "Ignore them, just throw the grenade, and wait for 3 breaths after pulling the safety pin." Hearing this, Li Feng and others hurriedly took out the grenade in their arms. At this time, the soldiers holding the grenade in their hands couldn't help but tremble a little. After all, they had seen the power of this killing weapon. They were afraid that they would accidentally fail to throw the grenade out later. If they didn't throw it out, they would probably die. Seeing that the soldiers were so nervous, Lu Chen said, "Don't worry, it won't blow you up." As soon as Lu Chen finished speaking, Li Feng pulled the safety pin of the grenade in his hand, and then only stayed in his hand for less than 2 seconds, and then he threw the grenade into the crowd of the Blood Moon Building. Although Li Feng was a 7th grade warrior, he was also very nervous when using a killing weapon like a grenade. Lu Chen originally wanted them to explode in midair, but no one knew whether those warriors would kick the grenades back. If they did, they would be in trouble. Fortunately, when Li Feng threw the grenade into the crowd, Lu Yuan and others did not take it seriously. They thought that the Northern Palace had thrown a stone, and they easily dodged the grenade thrown by Li Feng. Lu Yuan mocked again, "Ha ha ha, is the Northern Palace so poor that it has no arrows and can only throw stones?" However, as soon as Lu Yuan finished speaking, a loud noise exploded in the crowd. Boom! As a cloud of white smoke rose, people around died or were injured, and there was a wailing at the scene. After seeing this scene, the people in the Blood Moon building were shocked and did not react for a long time. It was not until the second grenade exploded in the crowd that the warriors in the Blood Moon building began to flee like crazy. Oh my god! It's thunder! Run! Someone in the Northern Palace can summon thunder. Immortal! There is an immortal in the Northern Palace. Seeing the people from the Blood Moon Tower fleeing everywhere, Lu Yuan clenched the big knife in his hand, and then roared with all his strength, "Stop right there! I will kill anyone who tries to escape." Before Lu Yuan finished speaking, a soldier from the palace threw a grenade towards where Lu Yuan was. Lu Yuan was not a fool. He already knew that this thing had exploded just now. Although he didn't know why this thing could have such a great lethality, he knew very well that this thing was very dangerous. Lu Yuan quickly kicked his legs forward and his body retreated 10 steps. However, when the grenade exploded, a piece of debris still directly passed by his leg, blowing his leg out of blood. Lu Yuan was considered lucky. The 9th rank warrior closest to Lu Yuan was hit by the grenade and instantly had more than a dozen blood holes. Seeing this scene, Lu Yuan's body couldn't help but tremble. There is no doubt that he was scared. He had never seen such a strange weapon. It looked like just a stone, but after it exploded, it could kill a 9th rank warrior instantly. This completely overturned his cognition. He had never heard of such a weapon. How could such a weapon exist in this world? If that dynasty had such a killing weapon, it would have unified the world long ago. At the same time, in the backyard of the palace, when Wang Qingkai and the people from Beihualu arrived at the backyard of the palace, they also heard rumbling explosions. Hearing those sounds, Wang Qingkai was stunned for a moment. At this time, Chen Yu beside her said, "Saint, it looks like it's going to rain soon, which is just right to cover up our actions." Chen Yu thought that the rumbling sound was thunder, but Wang Qingkai obviously didn't think so. Although the dark clouds tonight are indeed thicker, the sound is obviously not coming from the sky, and there is a loud echo. Something must have happened in the front yard. It seems that the Northern King has a lot of secrets. At this time, one of the assassins of Yanyu Pavilion suddenly reminded, "Saint, there is someone." As soon as the voice fell, everyone in Beihua Tower became alert instantly. They came to the back door of the palace mainly to block the escape route of the Northern King. Since someone appeared at the back door, it means that the Northern King and his men are ready to escape. Just when everyone in Yanyu Pavilion thought they were about to see the servants of the Northern King's mansion escaping, they found a beautiful woman wearing a green cloud dress and a cloud bun slowly walked to the door of the backyard. The people in Yanyu Pavilion recognized this woman instantly. The person who came was Chu Yukin, the 9th grade master of the Northern King's mansion. Seeing Chu Yukin appear in the backyard, Chen Yu and other assassins in Yanyu Pavilion were stunned. Chu Yukin, a 9th grade master, was not by the side of the Northern King to protect him, but ran to the backyard at this time. What's going on? For a moment, a bad premonition surged into people's hearts. Chu Yukin asked coldly, "It's so late, where are you going, Miss Wang?" Wang Qingkai replied with a smile, "I came to the Northern Palace to serve the prince." Chu Yukin snorted coldly and said, "Do you need so many people to serve Chen? Chen Yu took the initiative to stand up at this time. She immediately walked in front of Wang Qingkai, "Saint, go to the front yard to see the situation. I feel something is wrong, I will hold it off." Before Chen Yu finished speaking, she felt a chill on her back, and then a sharp pain swept through her body. Chen Yu lowered her head slightly, and she couldn't believe the blade on her chest. She turned her head and found that it was Wang Qingkai who killed her. "Saint, you." Wang Qingkai then drew out the sword, and before Chen Yu finished speaking, Chen Yu fell to the ground and lost consciousness. Seeing this scene, the killers of Yanyu Pavilion were stunned. They never dreamed that their saint would actually attack their own people at this time. At this time, Wang Qingkai said to Chu Yukin again, "Madam Chu, please help me to clean up these people and don't let them escape." After hearing what Wang Qingkai said, the assassins of Yanyu Pavilion realized that Wang Qingkai was betraying the 8th prince. One of them shouted loudly, "Everyone, run away. We must spread the news of the saint's betrayal." After that, the assassins of Yanyu Pavilion fled in several directions. At this time, Chu Yukin just glanced coldly. Soon, there were more than a dozen corpses at the door of the backyard of the palace. After Chu Yukin dealt with the assassins from Yinyu Pavilion, she went to the martial arts training ground with Wang Qingkai. Wang Qingkai was a little curious why Chu Yukin dared to leave Bawang at this time. Although she knew that Bawang might have some strength, there were so many 9th grade warriors in Suiyu Tower, and there was also a half-step master. Could it be that Chu Yukin was really not worried about her Chener being killed? Or did Chu Yukin think that Lu Chen was fully capable of dealing with the assassins in Suiyu Tower? Is the strength of Bawang Mansion so strong? Just when Wang Qingkai was full of questions, they had already arrived at the martial arts training ground of the palace. Seeing the people from Suiyu Tower surrounded in the martial arts training ground, Wang Qingkai was stunned. At this time, the martial arts training ground was full of corpses, but these corpses were all from the assassins in Suiyu Tower. At present, only 2 9th grade warriors and Lu Yuan, the deputy owner of Suiyu Tower, were still alive in Suiyu Tower. However, the situation of the 3 of them was very bad. The 3 of them were covered in blood, and the 2 surviving 9th grade warriors were obviously seriously injured. If they were not treated in time, they would probably be close to death. It wasn't long. The soldiers of the Northern Palace actually caught all the assassins sent by the Blood Moon Tower. Wang Qingkai felt like she was dreaming. She knew that the Northern Palace might have some strength, but she didn't expect that the Northern Palace could deal with the assassins of the Blood Moon Tower in such a short time. There were 5 9th grade warriors. And a half-step master. Even if there were really masters at the master level in the Northern Palace, they wouldn't have dealt with so many people in less than a quarter of an hour, right? How did the Northern Palace do it? Wang Qingkai turned his head and looked at Lu Chen, who was walking towards the martial arts training ground from a distance. If you want to know how the Northern Palace did it, maybe you can only ask the Northern King in person later. At this time, Lu Yuan stuck his sword into the ground to support his wounded body. When he saw the King of the North slowly walking out of the crowd, he gritted his teeth and sneered, "King of the North, I didn't expect you to be the one hiding the deepest. It seems that everyone in the world has been deceived by you." At this time, Lu Yuan no longer had the previous sharpness. It had only been a short time, and the people he brought were basically all dead, leaving only 3 seriously injured people. The kind of weapon that the King of the North Palace just took out, let alone a half-step master, I am afraid that even a real master may not be able to completely block it. He never dreamed that one day he would fall into the hands of a useless prince. Hearing Lu Yuan's words, Lu Chen said lightly, "Master Lu, do you have any last words to say? When I destroy the Blood Moon Tower in the future, I may be able to tell your last words to your master." Lu Yuan laughed and said, "You little boy, since you want to kill me, I will also drag you to be buried with me." At this point, Lu Yuan suddenly pulled out the sword stuck in the ground and ran straight to Lu Chen. Lu Yuan showed a ferocious and smug smile on his face. If it was before, when the King of the North had not come out, he would definitely not have been able to kill the King of the North. But the King of the North should not have come out to mock him at this time. At such a close distance, and he was a half-step master, although he was seriously injured, it was still no problem to kill a waste. Seeing this scene, Wang Qingkai's face changed drastically, and he exclaimed, "Not good." Just when Wang Qingkai thought that Lu Chen was going to be in trouble, he found that the people around him did not move. The soldiers of the palace and Chu Yukin just stood there, watching this scene quietly, as if they did not see that Lu Yuan wanted to die with Lu Chen. Wang Qingkai was stunned. She didn't understand why the soldiers of the palace and Chu Yukin had such a calm reaction. Lu Yuan was a half-step master. Even if he was seriously injured, it would not be a problem for him to drag a 9th grade master to die with him before he died. But the people in the palace were indifferent to this scene. Soon, Wang Qingkai understood why the people in the palace had no reaction to this scene at all. At this time, Lu Chen took out a black stick-like weapon and pointed it at Lu Yuan, who was rushing towards him. After seeing the stick in Lu Chen's hand, Lu Yuan laughed loudly and said, "A mere useless prince dares to fight me alone. Do you think that I can't kill you just because I'm seriously injured?" Seeing that the people around him did not move, and seeing Lu Chen took out a stick, Lu Yuan thought that Lu Chen was stupid and wanted to end his life himself. While speaking, Lu Yuan had already arrived in front of Lu Chen. "Go to hell." Seeing that Lu Yuan's sword was about to chop Lu Chen, Wang Qingkai's heart was in her throat. However, at this time, what she was worried about did not happen. At this time, a huge sound rang out, and then Lu Chen's body took a step back. Gang. At the moment of the gunshot, Lu Chen smiled and said, brother, times have changed." The next moment, Lu Yuan's body flew out in an instant, and a huge bloody hole appeared on his back. Seeing this scene, Wang Qingkai was completely stunned. What happened just now? What was the loud noise? She only saw Lu Yuan swinging his sword at the King of the North, and then the King of the North pointed a stick at Lu Yuan, and then Lu Yuan flew out, and a huge bloody hole appeared on his body. Obviously, the King of the North did not move, but Lu Yuan died? Wang Qingkai was not a fool. She quickly realized that Lu Yuan was killed by the black stick-like thing in Lu Chen's hand. Wang Qingkai's brain was a little confused. A half-step master. Just died like that? What kind of weapon was in the hands of the King of the North, and why was it so terrifying? Does this world really have such a weapon that can kill a half-step master in seconds? Wang Qingkai's brain instantly connected all the recent events. She finally understood why the first assassination attempt by the Blood Moon Tower failed. She also finally understood why the King of the North was not afraid of the assassination attempt by the Blood Moon Tower at all. At the same time, she also understood why the soldiers in the King of the North's mansion, including Chu Yukin herself, were indifferent when the King of the North was in danger. How could the King of the North be in danger? It was Lu Yuan who was in danger. A half-step master, just looking at the King of the North, instantly had a huge bloody hole in his body. With this weapon in hand, the King of the North is not afraid of any half-step master at all. Not to mention the half-step master, I'm afraid that the master can't resist that mysterious weapon. Seeing the black stick in Lu Chen's hand again, Wang Qingkai couldn't help but sweat on his white forehead. The black stick seemed to exude a strong bloody aura, which made Wang Qingkai's delicate body tremble unconsciously. In fact, let alone Wang Qingkai, even Li Feng and others who had seen Lu Chen use Barrett to snipe an 8th grade warrior once before were also shocked by this scene. The last time the Blood Moon Tower assassinated the Northern King sniped and killed only an 8th grade warrior. But this time, the one who died in the hands of the Northern King was a half-step master. A half-step master. This is an existence that even the court wants to win over. Moreover, even the previous grenade did not kill the half-step master of the Blood Moon Tower. But in front of the Northern King, in front of the Northern King's mysterious weapon, killing this half-step master is just a matter of a moment. Seeing the huge blood hole on Lu Yuan's back, almost everyone felt a chill on their backs. For a moment, the entire martial arts training ground was as quiet as a graveyard at night, until the 2 remaining 9th grade warriors in the Blood Moon Tower begged for mercy, and then people came to their senses. The 2 surviving 9th rank warriors in the Blood Moon Tower lost all hope of resistance after seeing Lu Yuan being killed instantly by the Northern King with a mysterious weapon. A half-step master was killed by the Northern King like a chicken. What resistance could the 2 9th rank warriors have? That was a half-step master. A half-step master who was only 1 step away from the master. Not to mention the master, even a great master would find it difficult to kill a half-step master instantly, but he was killed instantly by the Northern King, the prince who was rumored to be a waste. Your Highness, spare me, I was threatened by Lu Yuan, I have no intention of going against you. Your Highness, spare me, I know where the Blood Moon Tower is hiding. If you want to destroy the Blood Moon Tower, I can lead the way. The 2 9th rank warriors in the Blood Moon Tower kowtowed as they spoke, and the blood on their heads had already stuck their hair together. Seeing this scene, Wang Qingkai felt mixed emotions. She once thought that a 9th rank warrior was so powerful, especially after she became a 9th rank warrior. She thought that one day she would be able to get rid of Yanyu Pavilion and the Wang family with her own strength. But now it seems that the 9th rank is just so-so. Not to mention the 9th rank, even the status of a half-step master may decline significantly in the future. Thinking of this, Wang Qingkai glanced at the black long stick in Lu Chen's hand again. With that mysterious weapon, any half-step master is no different from an ordinary person. If the Northern Palace can mass-produce the same weapon, I am afraid that the entire martial arts world will be overturned in the future. At this time, Wang Qingkai seemed to have seen the collapse of the martial arts world and the scene of the Northern King unifying the entire continent. At this time, Li Feng said to Lu Chen, Your Majesty, do you want to keep these 2? Maybe they can help us find the location of the Blood Moon Tower. Lu Chen thought for a while, then asked, General Li, can you guarantee that these 2 9th rank warriors will not escape? Li Feng said, Your Majesty, we can use hooks to lock their scapula bones so that they cannot use their skills. Lu Chen smiled and said, General Li, what I want to ask is whether you can guarantee that these two 9th rank warriors will not escape. This. Li Feng was silent. Of course, he had no way to guarantee this. Even if the scapula bones of these two people were hooked, they could still escape in various ways. After all, they were 9th rank warriors. Seeing that Li Feng was silent, Lu Chen could basically confirm that Li Feng had no way to ensure that it was foolproof. Although he now had a 9th rank and a half-step master by his side, one was Wang Qingkai and the other was Chu Yukin. He couldn't let them watch the assassins of the Blood Moon Tower. If Li Feng and his men were to watch these two assassins, Li Feng was a 7th rank warrior, and the rest of the soldiers were all 3rd and 4th rank warriors. If the assassins from Blood Moon Tower really break free, these soldiers may not be able to stop them. So for the sake of safety, it is better to get rid of these two people. Thinking of this, Lu Chen took out the Desert Eagle from his sleeve like a magic trick, and then aimed at the two 9th grade warriors. Bang bang, 2 shots. The last 2 assassins sent by Blood Moon Tower also fell to the ground. At this point, the assassins sent by Blood Moon Tower were annihilated, and the plan of the 8th prince failed again. Seeing the two 9th grade masters falling to the ground, the soldiers couldn't help swallowing their saliva. If it was before, one 9th grade could beat 50 of them. Under normal circumstances, these two 9th grade kings are fully capable of killing all of their more than 100 soldiers. But now, the two 9th grade masters were easily executed by their prince. The weapons on the prince are simply terrifying. They dare not think about what will happen if someone uses this weapon on them in the future. At this time, Li Feng and others were extremely fortunate in their hearts. Fortunately, they were smart and knew to stay in Beijing. If they had chosen to return to the capital, let alone whether they could leave Yanqing. Even if they returned to the capital, when the Northern King rose in the future, they would probably have to face the mysterious weapons in the Northern King's hands. Thinking of the scene of the grenade explosion, the soldiers couldn't help but tremble. At this time, Wang Qingkai stared at the Desert Eagle in Lu Chen's hand. She thought that the Northern King only had that long black weapon, but she didn't expect that the Northern King actually had a mysterious weapon that could easily kill a 9th grade warrior. How could the Northern King have such terrible weapons? Where did these weapons come from? Wang Qingkai was very sure that there were no such terrible weapons in this world, otherwise the martial arts world would have been in chaos long ago. At this moment, Lu Chen turned his head and looked at Wang Qingkai. Wang Qingkai's delicate body trembled slightly, and her brain was stunned. Just by being looked at by Lu Chen, Wang Qingkai was filled with fear. In her mind, the Northern King is now a killing god and a synonym for mystery. Lu Chen smiled and said, "Qingkai, how do you plan to deal with the people in Yinyu Pavilion?" Lu Chen only subdued Wang Qingkai, so he did not plan to keep the people in Yinyu Pavilion. It is best to eliminate all the factors that cannot be completely controlled. He has not grown up to the point of being able to be an enemy of the whole world, and he still needs to be cautious in doing things. After hearing Lu Chen's question, Wang Qingkai immediately replied, "Don't worry, my lord, I and Madame Chu have just dealt with them all." Huh? Lu Chen was a little surprised to hear Wang Qingkai's answer. To be honest, she didn't expect Wang Qingkai to be so cruel. After all, she was the saint of Yinyu Pavilion and grew up in Yinyu Pavilion since she was a child. Chu Yukin asked at this time, "Chen, what are you going to do next?" Now they have thwarted another assassination attempt by the Blood Moon Tower, but Chu Yukin does not think that the Blood Moon Tower will give up. This time, their deputy building owner died in the Northern Palace, and the Blood Moon Tower is famous for its revenge, and they will definitely come to take revenge. The situation of the palace will still not be very good in the future. Lu Chen thought about it, and then said, "Let's spread what happened today and say that the mysterious master of the palace did not leave. With the help of the master of the palace, we thwarted another assassination attempt by the Blood Moon Tower." Lu Chen did not intend to let more people know about his Desert Eagle and Barrett, so at present he could only use the mysterious master to deter those who were hostile to the palace. Chu Yukin pondered for a moment and thought that Lu Chen's approach was fine. "Chen, go check on Zixuan and the others. Leave this to us." Mu Zixuan and the others were still in the tunnel. They probably heard the noise from the palace a long time ago. They were probably very worried at this time, so Chu Yukin wanted Lu Chen to check on them first. Mu Zixuan and the other 3 were pregnant and couldn't be too scared. Lu Chen said okay and turned to leave. At the same time, in the palace tunnel, Mu Zixuan and the 2 sisters of the Zhou family were looking at the top of the tunnel with worry. Zhou Xiaoxiao said to Mu Zixuan at this time, Sister Mu, the prince should be okay, right? Zhou Xiaoxiao and Zhou Yuyu had experienced the confiscation of their family, so they were very sensitive to such things. She didn't want to go back to the life she had before. It can be said that the King of the North was the sky for the two sisters. If something happened to the King of the North, their sky would collapse. Mu Zixuan comforted and said, Don't worry, the prince will be fine. Although Mu Zixuan didn't see the scene of Lu Chen using the mysterious weapon to kill the 9th grade warrior last time, she heard about it from her personal guards afterwards. So she was very sure that the man she married must be extraordinary, and that the assassination by the Blood Moon Tower would be easily dealt with. They just needed to wait here. At this moment, a tall and majestic man entered the tunnel. Seeing that it was Lu Chen, Zhou Xiaoxiao and Zhou Yuyu rushed up without hesitation and hugged Lu Chen. Great, Your Highness, you are okay. Woo, I was scared to death. Lu Chen patted Zhou Yuyu and Zhou Xiaoxiao on the back and said with a smile, Okay, it's okay, it's okay. Early in the morning, the army of Beijun blocked Yanqing. On the streets, almost every street was filled with soldiers coming and going. Seeing this scene, the people were so scared that they hurriedly ran home. At the same time, the gate of the county magistrate's mansion was also surrounded by a group of soldiers. Before Li Rui got up, he heard his wife rushing into the room and shouting loudly, Master, it's not good. Something happened. After hearing his wife's voice, Li Rui got up from the bed and asked in a daze, Madam, what happened? Madam Li hurriedly said, a group of soldiers came to the door and said they wanted to search the county magistrate's mansion. Hearing this, Li Rui's eyes suddenly widened and he woke up instantly. He immediately stood up from the bed, What's going on? Why are there soldiers searching the county magistrate's mansion? Madam Li said, I don't know what happened, Master, go and see. They are about to break in. Li Rui hurriedly walked towards the gate of the county magistrate's mansion without even having time to put on his clothes. At this time, Li Rui was extremely uneasy. He wondered if the King of Bei was going to take action against him, the county magistrate. But he changed his mind and thought that he had handed over the military power and was still working diligently for the King of the North. The King of the North would not attack him. Right? He was now considered a member of the King of the North. How could a vassal king attack his own people? If he, the county governor, was gone, it would be even more difficult for the King of the North to suppress the powerful groups in the North County. Soon, Li Rui appeared at the door of the county governor's mansion. Seeing that the captain who brought the soldiers was someone he knew, Li Rui was relieved. He asked, Captain Wu, what are you doing? Wu Hong smiled and said, Sir Li, please forgive me. The prince was assassinated by the assassins of the Blood Moon Tower last night. It is said that several assassins escaped. The prince ordered us to search the whole city and not let anyone's mansion go. Hearing this, Li Rui's face changed and he asked hurriedly, Is the prince okay? Wu Hong said, Don't worry, Sir Li, thanks to the mysterious master of the prince's mansion, the prince was just frightened and he is fine. Hearing this, Li Rui was relieved. If the King of the North was killed, he, the county governor, might also be implicated. Then Li Rui said, Okay, search. Wu Hong bowed and said, Sorry to bother you. Then Wu Hong led the soldiers into the county governor's mansion, searched briefly, and then took the soldiers to the next mansion. Soon, the news that the King of the North was assassinated spread throughout Yanqing. Almost everyone in Yanqing knew that the Blood Moon Tower sent someone to assassinate the King of the North, but was thwarted by the mysterious master of the King of the North's mansion. Although the King of the North is a useless prince, he is a prince after all, and the assassination of a prince is a big deal. The news soon spread to the capital, the residence of the 8th prince. After seeing Wang Qingkai's pigeon letter, Lu Shiyun was furious. He raised his arm and swept everything on the chopping board to the ground, and then overturned the table in front of him. Then there was a clanging sound in the study, and Lu Shiyun smashed everything that could be smashed in the study. Waste. Waste. A bunch of waste. 6 9th rank warriors and 1 half-step master, but they can't even kill a piece of trash. What's the use of you? After hearing Lu Shiyun's voice, the maids in the room stood aside and trembled, not daring to breathe. Lu Shiyun couldn't believe that this operation would fail. Even if the mysterious master was still in the northern palace, with the half-step master of the Blood Moon Tower, he could at least delay him for a while, so that other 9th rank warriors could create opportunities to kill Lu Chen. As a result, the Blood Moon Tower failed. Not only did the people of the Blood Moon Tower fail, but even the people sent by the Misty Rain Pavilion were basically dead. Only Wang Qingkai escaped, and it was said that he was seriously injured and could only hide in Yanshinj to survive. Lu Shiyun felt that his lungs were about to explode. He had always thought that it would be easy to get rid of Lu Chen, a waste, but he failed twice in a row. With these two failures, it might not be so easy for them to attack the Northern Palace in the future. Other forces are not fools. Even the assassination-specialized Blood Moon Tower has failed. It is highly unlikely that other assassin organizations will accept his mission. Just when Lu Shiyun was smashing things to vent his dissatisfaction, a servant rushed in. "Your Highness, it's not good. Something bad has happened." Lu Shiyun was angry now. Hearing the servant's clamor, he became even more angry. He kicked the servant against the wall. Fortunately, his strength was not very strong and he did not kick the servant to death. After spitting out a mouthful of blood, the servant quickly stood up and said, "Your Highness, now the whole capital is saying that you sent the assassin of the Blood Moon Tower to assassinate the Northern King in order to make the Jiangnan family support you in the battle for the throne." Hearing this, Lu Shiyun's brain was stunned and he froze in place. He reacted quickly and his face darkened instantly. My good brothers really don't miss any opportunity. Political matters can be done but not said, and can be said but not done. Although it is common for brothers to kill each other in the royal family, it is a taboo for any dynasty. People certainly know that the 8th prince is the one who wants to get rid of the 9th prince the most. Their mothers are from the Jiangnan family, and the Jiangnan family can only support one prince to participate in the fight for the throne. But this kind of thing can only be known, and it must not be spread out. Once it is spread, it will be a scandal of royal brothers killing each other. Since this kind of thing is a taboo in the royal family, why are there rumors in the capital that he sent someone to assassinate the 9th prince? Obviously, there are other princes pushing behind the scenes, with the purpose of making him lose the qualification to compete for the position of crown prince. Lu Shiyun was just thinking about how to get rid of Lu Chen, but now after hearing the rumors in the capital, he can't touch Lu Chen. This is what politics means. Since there are already rumors, if he still sends someone to assassinate Lu Chen's death is basically equivalent to confirming that he did it. Even if Lu Chen was not killed by him, the ministers in the court who support other princes will say that he did it, and the people will also think that he killed the 9th prince. If that time really comes, he will completely lose the qualification to compete for the position of crown prince. Lu Shiyun clenched his fists, feeling very unwilling. Could he just let that waste go? The first and second assassinations were mainly for his own political purposes, but at this time Lu Shiyun was so angry that he didn't think about the problem from a political perspective. He just wanted to get rid of Lu Chen. Of course, this was just a personal emotion for a moment, and Lu Shiyun soon calmed down. In any case, Lu Chen cannot be touched for a while. At this time, Lu Shiyun turned his head to look at the bookshelf in the study, and then said to that side, "Send a message to Wang Qingkai immediately, asking her to continue to lurk in Beijun after she recovers from her injuries, and not to take any action for the time being." As soon as Lu Shiyun finished speaking, a black shadow flipped out of the window and left the study. Beijing. Imperial Palace, Imperial Garden. Emperor Xia, wearing a yellow dragon robe, sat in the pavilion, savoring the fragrant tea in his hand. At this moment, a soldier in armor suddenly appeared behind him. "Your Majesty, I have found out that the news that the 8th prince sent people to assassinate the 9th prince was spread by the 1st prince." Upon hearing this, the teacup in Emperor Xia's hand broke instantly. Emperor Xia snorted coldly and said, "These children of mine are getting more and more restless. Could it be that they all hope that I will die soon? Are they so anxious to get the position of crown prince?" After seeing Emperor Xia's anger, the Imperial Master Situ Ce, who was sitting opposite Emperor Xia, immediately said, "Your Majesty, calm down. The position of crown prince is still undecided. It is not surprising that brothers attack each other. If your Majesty can appoint a crown prince as soon as possible, it will calm your mind a little." Upon hearing this, Emperor Xia chuckled, and then said, "Imperial Master, only you dare to say this to me. If someone else asked me to appoint a crown prince earlier, I would have people drag him down to fight 100 battles." At this point, Emperor Xia got up from the stone bench, put his hands behind his back, and looked at the lotus pond in the imperial garden. To be honest, compared to what happened in the capital, I am more curious about how Xiaju survived. Emperor Xiao's thoughts were similar to Lu Shiyun's. Even if the Chu family really sent a mysterious master to protect Lu Chen, the assassination attempt by Blood Moon Tower would most likely be successful. According to the information obtained by the Shadow Guard, Blood Moon Tower sent a half-step master and 5 9th grade masters to Beijun this time. In addition, Lu Shiyun himself had planted some pawns in Beijun. If they acted together, even if there was a master, the King of the North would not be able to survive. But the King of the North survived. This made Emperor Xia doubtful. Is the mysterious master beside the King of the North really just a master? Situ Ce said at this time, the 9th prince was able to survive, perhaps because of his luck. Emperor Xia said lightly, forget it, the farce should end. Since the Chu family has not sent anyone to Beijun to contact Xiaju recently, let Xiaju toss around in Beijun. I don't plan to ask about his affairs in the future. Emperor Xia. Had someone investigate the Chu family recently and found that the Chu family had not taken any action except sending Chu Yukin and the mysterious master to protect Lu Chen to Beijun to be theft. No one was sent to contact Lu Chen, and it seemed that they really gave up on Lu Chen. Emperor Xia even heard that the Chu family was very dissatisfied with Chu Xiong, the head of the family, and was already clamoring to change the head of the family. Chu Xiong himself could not protect himself, so it was normal that he had no mind to care about Lu Chen who was far away in Beijun. Emperor Xia then said to the red-robed eunuch beside him, pass on my order. The eldest prince spread rumors everywhere, which undermines the majesty of the royal family. He is under house arrest for 3 months. As for the 8th prince. At this point, Emperor Xia paused for a moment, and then continued, Eunuch Lu, you will go and tell the 8th prince to stop. Hearing this, the red-robed eunuch in front of Emperor Xia immediately said, yes, your majesty. Then Eunuch Lu left the palace and went to the residences of the eldest and 8th princes to pass on the order. At the same time, Jiangnan, Sufeng City. Chu family. A gray-haired old man was sitting in the yard, holding the letter in his hand and reading it repeatedly. At this time, a middle-aged man in green brocade came in from the entrance of the yard. Dad, didn't you say that you would not take care of the affairs of the northern prince's mansion for the time being? Why didn't you let Qiner come back? And you actually secretly sent a master to protect the northern prince. The man's name is Chu Hongfei, the son of Chu Xiong, and Lu Chen's uncle. Chu Hongfei was in a bad mood after learning that there was a mysterious master in the northern palace. Although Lu Chen was his nephew, he and Lu Chen did not have much in common, let alone any good feelings towards each other. What's more, the woman he likes has been following the northern king, which makes Chu Hongfei even more unhappy. As for who the woman he likes is, it is naturally Chu Yukin. Facing his son's questioning, Chu Xiong was silent for a moment, and then asked back, Hongfei, do you really think that the master of the northern king's mansion was sent by me? Hearing Chu Xiong's words, Chu Hongfei was stunned for a moment, and then he said, except for you, who would send a master to protect a useless prince? In Chu Hongfei's opinion, Chu Xiong might think that Lu Chen is his grandson, so he is afraid that he will get hurt. So he sent a master over. Chu Xiong sighed and said, I did think about sending a master to protect the king of the north, but when I thought about the recent actions in the capital, I finally gave up the idea. I don't know where that mysterious master came from. And Yukin voluntarily followed the king of the north to Beijun, and now she no longer listens to the Chu family. At this time, a look of doubt appeared on Chu Hongfei's face, and then he asked, Dad, you are not lying to me, are you? If it weren't for your order, how could Qiner follow an unlearned waste? I don't believe it. Chu Xiong said angrily, now that Emperor Xia is constantly taking actions, the commander of the imperial guards in the capital has been replaced again and again, even Zhou Wangtian's family has been confiscated and exterminated, and Mu Changtian has also been imprisoned in the capital. It is obvious that Emperor Xia is going to take action against the aristocratic families next. How dare I have too much contact with the king of the north at this time? Do you really think I'm old and confused, and afraid that Emperor Xia's knife will not come down fast enough? As for Yukin, I advise you to give up as soon as possible. Although her husband died on the first day she married into the Wang family, she is still considered the daughter-in-law of the Wang family. Hearing Chu Xiong's words, Chu Hongfei said thoughtfully, Dad, If it is really not the master you sent to Beijun, then no master should protect the king of Beijun, right? Chu Xiong touched his gray beard, and then said, I was also confused when I saw the news at first, but I just received news from the capital. This matter may have something to do with the eldest prince. At this point, Chu Xiong handed the letter in his hand to Chu Hengfei. Chu Hengfei picked up the letter and glanced at it, and the expression on his face changed again and again. Then he said, Dad, do you think that the eldest prince sent the master to protect the king of the north, and he wants to win over our Chu family in this way? Chu Xiong said lightly, not to win over the Chu family, but to win over me. The letter in Chu Hengfei's hand was sent by the Chu family's spy in the capital. The spy found out that the eldest prince had spread news about the king of the north several times, including the news that the 8th prince sent someone to assassinate the king of the north, which was spread in the capital this time. It seemed that the eldest prince was protecting the king of the north. But Chu Xiong was not a fool. This was obviously done by the eldest prince for him to see. As for whether the master around the king of the north was the eldest prince's subordinate, it was really hard to say. As the eldest prince, the person who is most likely to become the crown prince, he must have a master under his command, there is no doubt about this. But the master is not a cabbage. The eldest prince himself needs the protection of the master. If the master is sent to protect the king of the north, who will protect him in the capital, unless there is more than one master around him? At this time, Chu Hengfei put the letter on the stone table, and then said, I don't care, Qiner must come back no matter what. What is she doing in Beijun with a useless prince? The environment in Beijun is so bad, she can only suffer in Beijun. Hearing this, Chu Xiong was furious and scolded, you think about women every day, that's all you can do. Now the Chu family is about to face a disaster, and you are still thinking about women. Chu Hengfei said nonchalantly, what does the Chu family's disaster have to do with me? When that time comes, I will take Qiner to the Dao dynasty. Hearing Chu Hengfei's words, Chu Xiong almost suffocated. Get out! Get out of here! Chu Xiong shouted loudly. Seeing that Chu Xiong was angry, Chu Hengfei hurriedly left the yard. After Chu Hengfei left, Chu Xiong looked at the empty yard, sighed deeply and said, Dad is sorry for you. I didn't protect you well at the beginning, and now I don't even dare to send someone to protect your child. As time went by, the belly of Mu Zixuan and her 3 daughters grew bigger and bigger, and soon they were about to give birth. Since the news that the king of the north was assassinated by the Blood Moon Tower and then rescued by the mysterious master came out in Beijun, Beijun suddenly became much more stable. This made some forces realize that the mysterious master beside the king of the north might always follow the king of the north and protect him. Although the king of the north is a waste, the mysterious master beside the king of the north is not a vegetarian. And because of the warning of Emperor Xia, the 8th prince did not continue to send people to assassinate Lu Chen, but only asked Wang Qingkai to continue to monitor Lu Chen in Beijun, and tell him immediately if he found that the king of the north had any contact with the Chu family. In the past few months, Lu Chen was not busy dealing with the affairs of Beijun, and Beijun was still managed by Li Rui, the county governor. However, Lu Chen asked people to measure the land of the palace, and then asked the people to open up the wasteland, and planted all 10,000 kilograms of breeding potatoes. There are many wastelands in Beijun, and not many people pay attention to the measurement of land in opening up wasteland in the Bawang mansion. These days, Lu Chen has been accompanying Mu Zixuan and the other 2 in the palace. The 3 of them are about to give birth, so Lu Chen takes extra care of them, fearing that something might happen to them. At this time, Lu Chen gently stroked Mu Zixuan's bulging belly, and then smiled and said, My beloved, you can leave the palace's industry to Aunt Chu for the time being. Next, you can wait for the birth with peace of mind, and don't worry about those things for the time being. In the past few months, Mu Zixuan has expanded the soap industry and perfume industry by hundreds of times. Now the entire Great Xia dynasty, whether it is the nobles or the common people, are using the perfume and soap produced by their palace. Although these 2 things are more profitable, because they are the industries of the northern king, and Mu Changtian is watching over the northern king's palace in the capital, no one dares to take the idea of these 2 industries for the time being. What Lu Chen didn't expect the most was that Mu Zixuan seemed to be a very business-minded person. She also combined perfume and soap to make a product like soap. Of course, this is not a simple combination. The soap has been improved and can be used for bathing. With these industries, the palace can earn hundreds of thousands of taels of silver every month, and Music Xuan is actively exploring trade routes. She plans to sell these things to other countries. Unfortunately, as her belly grows bigger, her energy is getting worse and worse, and she feels sleepy every day. Now she is completely unable to manage the palace's industries. After hearing Lu Chen's words, Music Xuan said, "Well, I have asked someone to transfer all the palace's account books to Aunt Chu. Aunt Chu has been familiar with the palace's industries these days. Although Chu Yukin is not a member of the Northern Palace now, everyone in the palace trusts her and knows that she will be Lu Chen's woman sooner or later. People don't worry about anything going wrong when they hand over the palace's industries to her." At this time, the maid Zyro entered the room and whispered, "Your Majesty, General Li is looking for you, saying that he has something important to tell you." Hearing this, Lu Chen stroked Music Xuan's cheek, and then said, "My beloved, I have something to go out first, you lie down well." Music Xuan smiled and said, "Well, Your Majesty, go and get busy." Lu Chen immediately stood up and walked towards the martial arts training ground. After seeing Li Feng, before Li Feng saluted, Lu Chen asked, "General Li, what do you want to see me for?" Li Feng quickly replied, "Your Majesty, good news, the soil you asked us to plant." "Soil?" At this point, Li Feng thought for a while, and then immediately said, "Oh, yes, potatoes. Those potatoes can be harvested." Hearing this, Lu Chen's eyes lit up. Potatoes are the most suitable crop to solve the food shortage in Beijing, and this is also an agricultural product that Lu Chen attaches great importance to. Lu Chen immediately said, "Let's go and take a look." As soon as the voice fell, Lu Chen walked towards the gate of the palace. Lu Chen now really wants to know how much these potatoes they planted in Beijing can harvest. He was not an agricultural expert, and could only plant according to the planting methods of the people in this world, so he was very uncertain. Soon, Lu Chen came to a field where potatoes were planted in the northern palace. At this time, there were already many soldiers and nearby people waiting here. The nearby people were interested in the new crops planted by the northern palace. Although the Northern Palace had never told the people what they were planting, it could be seen from the fact that the Northern Palace sent soldiers to patrol every day that these crops planted by the Northern Palace must be very important to the Northern Palace. Seeing so many people nearby, Li Feng asked, "Your Majesty, should we drive all these people away? After all, potatoes are also a secret of the Northern Palace. If too many people know about it, I'm afraid many people will covet the potatoes of the Northern Palace." Lu Chen shook his head and then said, "If we drive them away, how can we promote potato planting in Beijing in the future?" He originally planned to let the people of Beijing plant potatoes. If the people could not see the per acre yield of potatoes, they would definitely not plant potatoes. If the Northern Palace forced the people to plant crops they had never seen, it might cause public outrage. At this time, the people around saw that the Northern King had come in person, so they started to talk about it. "Look. That's the prince, right? It's him. I saw him when he first came to Yanshanj. What is planted in this field? Even the king of the north came here in person. It is said that it is edible food. Is it true? This is the first time I have heard of food buried under the ground. Wait and see, they should be planning to dig. We will know when they dig later." Lu Chen ignored the people's discussion. He glanced at the crowd and then said to the soldiers holding hoes, "Dig 1 acre of land first and see how much the yield is." Lu Chen gave an order and the soldiers began to dig the soil. Soon, some irregular oval potatoes appeared in front of people. Seeing that there were so many potatoes under one plant, the people around were stunned. "Are these really edible? Oh my God, there are so many potatoes under one plant. If they can all be eaten, then there will be no more famine in Beijing in the future. But will the king of the north distribute the seeds of this plant to us ordinary people?" Time passed by minute, and soon, 1 acre of potatoes was dug up. Seeing the pile of potatoes, the soldiers of Beijing and the people around them were all staring. After weighing, the yield of 1 acre of potato was nearly 2,000 kilograms. When Li Feng saw this number, he couldn't believe it. 1 acre of potato actually produced 2,000 kilograms. In this era, 1 acre of wheat didn't even produce 200 kilograms. Although he couldn't believe it, it happened right in front of him, and Li Feng couldn't help but believe it. Li Feng then came to Lu Chen and was about to report the weighing situation. Lu Chen said to Li Feng directly, "General Li, Tell the people loudly, how much is the yield of 1 acre of potato? Li Feng instantly understood what Lu Chen meant, so he said loudly, report to the prince, after our weighing, the yield of 1 acre of potato is 2,000 kilograms. Hearing this, the people around him were instantly excited. Oh my god! 2,000 kilograms! If we have so much food, we will never be afraid of starving in the future. Auspicious, this is auspicious.